From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
7 minutes past the hour, as Barry Manilow would say, looks like we made it. It's TGIF. Whew. What a week. And what a fast week. I hope you can say the same. I don't know that a week going fast means it's great necessarily, but usually though, when the week goes by quickly, it's because you're having a good week. And I think we are having a really good week. A lot in the news. I don't know that I've ever talked about one of the people that I think is, I don't even think it's arguable, one of the most contemptible, disgraceful, disgusting, reprehensible. Can I keep going? There's probably more I can and should say. And she is being billed as, she thinks she's the best. And that is usually the way with people like this. But she's pretty readily referred to as the worst mayor in America. The mayor of Dalton, Illinois, who makes about $300,000 per year. I mean, can you imagine that? And has some kind of charity thing going, and a city with a $2 to $5 million deficit. Her name is Tiffany Henyard. She's got to be the worst, maybe the GOAT in terms of, you usually hear GOAT, greatest of all time, in a positive sense. She is probably the GOAT in the worst sense, the worst of all time. And some weird things. I mean, for example, the city council voted to investigate her, to do some other, things they wanted to do. She just vetoes it, and it's almost like some pocket veto thing. She just puts it in her pocket, and away it goes. She knew recently that the townspeople, I haven't used that term maybe ever, the townspeople were up in arms about the latest crap she's pulling. She locked the doors. I mean, it's a total violation of the sunshine laws. And then it's very Biden-esque because everything they do is the exact opposite of what really is going on. She said something like, there's threats and things, so this is to protect the staff. Oh, so you just lock the public out. And you're right, because you're protecting the staff. This disgusting woman has makeup people, hairstylists. I mean, all of this. And she readily says things. I've heard her say it about how it's important that she looks good. I mean, she is perhaps one of the most self-indulgent, self-absorbed, horrific people ever. And no Republican could get away with this for this length of time. I mean, this has been at least a couple of years of this, that this is going on. And because she's a Democrat, I mean, how haven't other law enforcement people, if she can button down the local stuff, what about county, state, federal? How does somebody get away with this? Including, I mean, you're talking about, there's 40,000 full-time residents in Atlantic City. You're talking about a town of 20,000 people. Bigger than Ventnor and Margate, but not by a lot. few thousand. $300,000 a year. And expenses and things. I think it's not only preposterous, I think it's outrageous. Speaking of Illinois, that's Dalton, Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, TB cases, tuberculosis found at a Chicago migrant shelter. And this is another legacy of Joe Biden. You're going to see this. We're going to have things occurring in America, and other people will get sick and people will die that shouldn't die. I mean, the carnage that Joe Biden is going to leave, and he's got to go. This man, we don't even have a country if he wins again. You cannot overstate how critical November 5th is. It's the most important day. Even if you don't agree with me, I'm going to try to jam it down your throat. It's not usually my approach. Circa 2024, that was my early days. I would really try to, don't you see? And I concluded, and it really was an epiphany. It was an important one. You cannot make people believe that which they are either not willing to believe or not ready to believe. So in cases like that, the softer approach, I think, is better. Bring the things up, mention them. What I like to do, things that I believe are important but not yet on the radar, I like through repetition. I want to stop short of broken record status, but through repetition, I like to bring out certain things. Like, I didn't care. I spent 10 years saying that illegals were going to vote in this country. And I didn't care how many people told me that I was either purposely lying, very dumb, a lot of different insults. And I knew it. Didn't matter. There are some things, and one of the great teachings of my father was that one person with the truth is a majority. So if you have the strength of your convictions, if there are times this, where you're just ahead of a lot of people and in some cases everyone else. They just don't see it yet, or it's not important to them, or they don't believe you, or they don't see it the way that you see it. And then you just stay true to yourself. And my belief is it's not 100% scorecard, 100% of the time. But many times, in the end, we talk about the 4 stages of the truth. And the beginning stages are tough because you have people totally, purposely obfuscating and lying. And then you just either have to give up or stay tough. And then eventually, look, I don't remember how long it took, and in some people's minds, it still hasn't happened. But I did say again and again and again that at some point it will just be a generally accepted principle of accounting that Joe Biden has a mental acuity issue. That there would come a point in time where, and I didn't understand it because I saw it very early on, and I was as patient as I could be with people that would say, oh, no, he's fine. I would say, come on. I used to have conversations with people. You're pulling my leg, right? You don't honestly believe that he's with it. Oh, yeah, I do. He's great. I think, oh, yes, we're so fortunate. Oh, really? Okay, well, you'll see it at some point. I said, you're either pulling my leg, you're delusional, or you actually don't see it yet. I said, but you will. I don't know what it will take. Using the short section of the plane, falling all over the place, making crazy things, statements, shaking people, reaching to shake people's hands that aren't there, babbling, note cards, teleprompters, having the answers to questions before the interview takes place. And you know the questions that they're going to ask ahead of time because the whole thing has to be scripted. I mean, look, I am readily open to this. Not everyone sees something at the same time. And there will be people, I'm telling you, and they bear watching, and there's something deeply disturbing about what I'm about to say, but there will be people that will never, ever acknowledge. Like, I'm sure if you said to Joy Behar and Sunny Hostin and what is the other girl's name? Farrah. I couldn't even tell you who else is on that stupid show. I haven't watched that since Barbara Walters and Meredith Vieira. And it was a watchable show. It is completely unwatchable. I swear to you, they will never admit, and I can't say for sure if they know it and they just lie and refuse to admit it, or if they actually don't see it, if they're so blinded. Look, you can be, if you had bright sunlight in your eyes at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, coming from north to south in Atlantic City at 5 o'clock on a sunny day, and that sun is in your eyes, you can't see anything else. It's blinding. Maybe they have, I'm open to this, maybe they have a blind spot. They refuse to see, or they literally cannot see. But understand this. Most people that are listening right now, and I would say it's a very high number. I don't know what percentage, but way, way, way beyond supermajority. Most people listening right now, you know that we have a president that isn't with it. Maybe there's a degree of opinion or disagreement on how far gone is he, where I might think he's further gone than you think he is, and vice versa. But there will be a percentage, I don't know what it is, that they will never admit that Joe Biden is in the throes of some kind of mental acuity deficit. And just understand that. Now, they could be lying and they know it, or they might not see it at all. Pretty amazing, isn't it? We'll be back.
Mark Levin.
Are you going to be played by Joe Biden?
No.
Joe Biden's using the tactics of totalitarian, autocratic leaders around the world, of totalitarian, autocratic bigots.
He is.
From 100 years ago in our own country. Are you going to be played by this guy?
No.
You think our country is safer? You know it's not. You think your neighborhoods are cleaner and safer?
No.
You know they're not.
Mark Levin on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Fox News commentary.
A California bill would give workers the right to ignore their bosses after hours. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Federal authorities are now pressuring banks to spy on the transactions of conservatives. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and this is yet another reason why you need a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, text the word SHELTER to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs. Secure your IRA or 401k right now. Text SHELTER to 989898 to request your free info kit right now.
Message and data rates may apply.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
A California Democrat introduced a new way for workers to skirt work. How on brand. Assemblymember Matt Haney of San Francisco introduced a bill centered around the premise that less work should be expected from workers. The bill is dubbed the right to disconnect and would give employees a legal excuse to ignore their bosses after normal work hours. The bill would require non-working hours to be established and allow employees to file a complaint punishable by fine for employers who don't adhere to their employees' right to disconnect. You know, the greatest generation stormed the beaches of Normandy, many of them at just 18 years old, and this generation complains about answering emails after 5 p.m. You think the Chinese would implement a right to disconnect rule? No, not a chance, and that's why, folks, they're eating our lunch. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the morning.
It tends to make me feel a little bit more intelligent.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you and welcome back. 25 minutes past the hour. This may be one of the most, I think, illustrative examples as to how broken the country is in the Biden era. And I guess we should call it the Biden error, because this takes the cake. I can't believe I haven't mentioned this to you over the past couple of days. 6 New York City inmates filed a lawsuit against New York. New York, the New York prison system. The inmates claim that the solar eclipse, which will take place this Monday, I'm going to talk about the solar eclipse after the break. They say that it is a, quote, religious event, end quote. They argued that a lockdown violates their constitutional rights. Listen to this. This is the inmate's attorney releasing this statement about their lawsuit, which I am here to tell you has been successful for them. Quote, New York State has entered into a binding settlement agreement that will allow our 6 clients to view the solar eclipse in accordance with their sincerely held religious beliefs. Can you believe it? And now this is an attorney saying it, so when they use the word client, but I can't remember exactly who was trying to pull this one off. I don't know that they have succeeded, certainly not in the court of public opinion, but maybe they have in terms of any power that they have in changing the English language. That's what these filthy Democrats have been all about. They change every societal norm and they call it something else, just to handcuff everybody. Well, you don't even know what. I'm serious. I talk to a lot of people on air, and I talk to a lot of people off air. And people tell me that, and they see it. I explain to them that I believe that it is the purpose of the Democrats to make things so uncomfortable that you don't know what you can say anymore and what you can't say. And I'm telling you, they even have savvy national people all tied up in knots. I'm not going to tell you who this was because I don't want to exploit them. It's someone that I casually know. We're not friends, but I know him. He knows me, and I will call us, acquaintance. Not somebody that I have a relationship with, or anything like that. So I'm trying to, just to put this in the fairest context that I can. But I watched this person, and I know what they meant to say. They meant to say transgender. They were referring to someone who had transitioned and is transgender. And what this person did, and I would say I think they're a little bit younger than me, but they're a contemporary of similar age. Not old, but not young. And this individual said, and you may know who it is when I say this, I caught it live. I actually saw a look of fear in this person's eyes because he was instantly processing, oh my God, Media Matters, the Democrat media, what's going to happen to me? You know, I'm going to pay unbelievable hell for this. He inadvertently said transvestite instead of transgender. And I'm telling you, I watched the panic, the fear. This is a good man. He just slipped. You know, there's certain words that used to be said that you don't say anymore. And he corrected himself. I think he said something like, I shouldn't have said transvestite, meant to say transgender, something like that. It was a quick, on-the-fly correction later, not even like the next second after saying it, but you could tell that when it was said that he was like fearing his life flash before his eyes. This is how the Democrats want it. They don't want you to know what you can say and what you can't say. And then you know what they get from that? And it's insidious. They shut you down and they shut you up because you're afraid you're going to say something that will cancel you or get you grief or get you called names that you're not. They know, I'm telling you, they know exactly what they're doing. They really do. Much more straight ahead. TGIF, it's Hurley in the Morning.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Hey, thanks for being with us on this Friday. It is Harry Hurley. I have 3 stories that you can follow on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. How did Atlantic City feel about legal gambling in 1953? It's a really, I think, fun piece. Good piece. A look at this particular Cape May County town after days of rain activity, and there seems to be a lot of this going on in Atlantic City.
Good morning with your South Jersey weather. I'm Joe Kelly. Hey, no rain in the forecast, at least the next several days. We're looking at a partly to mostly sunny day across South Jersey today. High temperature about 51. Overnight tonight, partly cloudy, 37. Tomorrow looks partly sunny and 54. Sunday looks mostly cloudy and 53. As of right now, Monday and Tuesday, 60 Monday, 70 will be the temperature on Tuesday. Next chance of rain as of right now will not be till next Wednesday. Enjoy your weekend. I'm Joe Kelly.
You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
People.
Hurley in the Morning.
They always have great conversation.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
That's what we do. Hello there. 37 minutes past the hour. TGIF. Hope your morning is off to a great beginning. All right, so the total eclipse. I'm trying to think. Was the last total eclipse in 2017? I think it was. And I believe the next one will be won't have to wait as long, in 2026. But it's not a total eclipse for everyone. But it is a total eclipse for a good number. The best cities to see what they call totality: San Antonio, Texas; Dallas, Texas; Little Rock, Arkansas; Paducah, Kentucky. I may have never said, it's maybe taken me almost 32 years to say Paducah. I don't think I've ever said that before on this show. I've heard of Paducah, Kentucky. Thank you for letting me say that. A new word on the show, that is. Indianapolis, Indiana. Hey, by the way, you know, if you do the math, I'm on air, and that's not counting special things that we do, like the lengthy air show, Atlantic High Holy Spirit, other things that we do out and about. And I'm not even counting, I should count all the national work that we do because it's quite a number of hours each year. But just the Hurley in the Morning local program, we are on air for at least, I'm trying to think. Give me a second here. I don't want to double it by mistake. Let's see. I will say roughly 1,200 hours a year. 1,200. So if you said 1,200 times, 32, close to 40,000. And it's definitely over 40,000 because there was a whole year that we did 5 hours a day. We do a ton of extra stuff. So it's definitely way more than 40,000 hours. And then you throw in the national work. Let me just have fun with that for a second. Let's just say we do an average of 4 per month. And that is 3 hours. So that's roughly another 150 hours per year. Probably more, probably closer to 200. Because there's times during Thanksgiving and Christmas times where we may do, there was I think December we did 18 shows in the month. There's only like 20 dates, and we did something like 18. So anyhow, it's a lot of hours. I was wondering the other day off air, how many words, all of us, not just me, you, our guests, how many words do you think have been spoken? Again, if you use the figure 40,000 hours a year, and then you have to say an average of how many words per hour. I never really thought about even taking like one show and counting it. But, God, it has to be like more than 1 million, in the millions. Whew. So I guess what I'm saying is to pull Paducah out, pull a word out that's never been spoken on the program is, come on, pretty wild. Where else? Indianapolis, Indiana, Dayton, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, Buffalo, New York, Syracuse, New York, Burlington, Vermont. They are considered the best cities in the country to see what's called totality of this Monday's total solar eclipse. This Monday, April 8th, 2024, a total solar eclipse will cross North America, passing over Mexico, the United States, and Canada. And you know, not to insult anyone, but it's just good to know, what is a total solar eclipse? Very simple. A total solar eclipse happens when the moon passes between the sun and Earth, and it completely blocks the sun. And what happens is the sky darkens, and it's going to feel like it's dusk or dawn. But here's the deal. This is the one you have to be very careful. And there will be knuckleheads. I can look at it. I heard a national person, and they weren't kidding, say the other day, I'm going to look at it. And then the people were saying, no, don't do that. You got to wear the glasses. And I remember when we were in school and we were very young, and maybe you remember this, there's some kind of box and a mirror, and you put a pinhole through the thing, and you can look at it through the box. Safety is of paramount importance when you're viewing a total solar eclipse. You have to make yourself familiar. See, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not looking at it. I'm not getting glasses. I'm not building the box. I'm not taking any chances. I don't want to mess up, I'm going to be 64 years old on Don Hurley's birthday, June 19th, and I don't even wear glasses. How about that? I can see the tiniest print. I don't need them for anything. I want to keep it that way for as long as I can. So please be sure, if you're going to go look at this thing, I'm not going to. Be sure you're familiar with what you need to wear in the form of eye protection that is designed for solar viewing, but you still have to adhere to safety guidelines. Here's what they say. Except during the brief total phase, and we're not going to have a total blackout. We're going to have a partial solar eclipse here in New Jersey. So except during the brief total phase of a total solar eclipse, when the moon completely blocks the sun's bright face, it is not safe to look directly at the sun without specialized eye protection for solar viewing. Viewing any part of the bright sun through a camera lens, binoculars, or a telescope without a special purpose solar filter that is secured over the front of the optics will instantly cause severe eye injury. How do you like that? You shouldn't. More after the break.
Hurley in the morning.
The more we talk about it, the better.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. You're listening to Hurley in the morning.
It's a source I can trust.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure being trusted, but yep, we are. 9 minutes before the top of the hour, your phone call's coming up in just a little bit, so don't go away. You will be our first caller. I hope you'll hang in there, and you'll be caller number 2. So we always like to inspire at least 2 at a time to hang in there. So I'm talking about this, what could be a total solar eclipse for about, I think it's like 44 million people. And then another 200 million people will have a partial. This is a record in terms of the numbers of people. For whatever reason, I don't know if there is a reason for it other than it seems to be recorded that way, that this is how it happens. The total eclipse usually is only visible in remote areas, not like in major cities and stuff like that. You get the partial eclipse. So we talked about the safety aspect, which I'm pretty big on that kind of thing. Knowledge is power. When watching the partial phases of the solar eclipse directly with your eyes, which happens before and after totality, you must look through safe solar viewing glasses. They're also called eclipse glasses, or a safe handheld solar viewer at all times. And I mentioned the school project that we did long ago. I think I might not even have been 10 years old. Just something that I'll never forget. I remember making that little box, like a pinhole projector. I remember making it long ago. And it was a pretty cool project. The mirror had to be on a certain angle, and it was very, very cool. Another great thing from the Ventnor City Public School System, which was groundbreaking at the time. So this safe handheld solar viewer is important, and there's indirect viewing methods that I mentioned, such as the pinhole projector. So the deal is North America is on the verge of a total eclipse. It will last twice as long and have the widest audience ever, and wider certainly than when there was the last one that stretched coast to coast in the United States back in 2017. The moon will shroud the sun for up to 4 minutes and 28 seconds. And in fact, it does say here even that this normally unfolds in remote corners of the globe. This time, though, it's going to pass over major cities. An estimated 44 million people live within the path of totality, with another couple 100 million within 200 miles, guaranteeing the continent's biggest eclipse crowd ever. Practically everyone on the entire continent will get to see at least a partial eclipse. You can also watch it online. NASA is offering a bunch of coverage. And if anybody can't find it, I have the link to that streaming. And it's going to be pretty neat. This Monday. This Tuesday, Jack Ciattarelli is launching his campaign for governor. Very excited about that. And let me take a moment to tell you what's being reported and what I think it really means. I think you're pretty well aware that I've never been a fan of this no labels group. I'm a huge fan of the late, great Joe Lieberman. So that just shows you, and it's the way we always used to be, you can really like someone, but not like something that they might be involved in. And I think we have to get back to being that kind of people and that kind of country. Is there somebody you like on most things? I can't stand him now because he's part of this no labels thing. I think the no labels thing was a scam. The no labels thing was to stop Trump from being president. They don't want to stop Biden from being president. So they'll tell you we didn't find our hero, and they got cutesy language. Somewhere in my iPhone, I have the exact words they spoke, but I don't care, and I don't need it. This is what I know. They calculated that if they put a unity ticket into the race, it was 100% going to guarantee that Donald Trump would be elected to a second term. That's why they're not fielding. You don't think they could field a ticket? You don't think there's some self-indulgent, self-absorbed jackass, one or two, that would just love for a few months to live it la vida loca and be running for president and vice president? No. I don't believe, we couldn't find our hero. Who was your hero going to be? Chris Christie? Give me a break. No, here's what they know. Because they did a lot of polling and they've been following all the other polling. Take the Latino vote, for example. Latest polling data. Trump, 41%. Biden, 31%. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., 18%. With maybe if Robert Kennedy was not running, maybe they would try to finagle a no labels ticket. But they know Trump has a built-in base that is, it's like if you like the movie Intolerable Cruelty, and I love it, I watch it probably about once a year. George Clooney, Catherine Zeta-Jones, other really great actors and character actors. It's a great, great story. He plays an attorney named Massey. That's the last name. And he has the Massey prenup. And the key to the Massey prenup, which he was going to have in his marriage with Catherine Zeta-Jones, but he just loved her so much, he tore up at the honeymoon, he tore up the Massey prenup. The Massey prenup is impenetrable. I'm telling you, there is at least 40-some% of Trump's support. He could commit genocide. He could commit, you name it, world war. You don't have to respect it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to understand it. I am telling you it's true. Trump even laughed in 2015, 2016-ish, that he could commit a drive-by or something, a shooting in broad daylight. He has an impenetrable 40-some% support. So you can listen to the liars, or you can listen to me, or listen to your own lion eyes or lion ears. There's no labels ticket, unity ticket in this 2024 presidential election cycle, because if they put a ticket in there, it was good night Irene for Joe Biden. Joseph Robinette Biden. History. That's why there's not a no labels ticket. Phone lines are open right now. Let's do this. 609-407-1450. We have open forum all this hour. Can't wait. Senator Vince Palestina at 8. Don Hurley, George Tibbett at 9.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
Kelly.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
I just saw something that is absolutely hilarious. And see, for me, some of the funniest things are these clowns that they believe it, that it's serious to them. Kamala Harris said in the past day that we should be thankful. She's telling us we should be thankful for the Biden climate program. You have to be kidding me. They say this stuff. I mean, just one more pilot on top of the turnip truck. One more reason why November 5th can't get here soon enough. Because remember, once he's defeated, we can survive. If you join me in my compartmentalization strategy, we get through to the election, we win, and then the fact that he will have been thrown out of office means the leash. I mean, he can do executive orders and do some weirdo stuff for a couple of months after that. But if we compartmentalize this, we can limit the damage and take care of business. And November 5th literally can't get here quick enough. We should be thankful for the Biden climate agenda. That they want to control what stove you can have, what car you can drive, what dishwasher you can have, how much water your toilet can flush. They want to control everything. Don't be surprised in the not too distant future if they say you can only use 4 squares of toilet paper. I mean, they want to literally, they want to get into every aspect of your life. I mean, why wouldn't they get into your poopy? I mean, they already are controlling, the amount of water that they're so proud of themselves. How little water can you flush and still flush the toilet? That's the goal for a second term of Joe Biden, who probably saves a lot of flushes because he just, it depends, if you know what I mean. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Harry.
Good morning to you.
Some very good breaking news.
Okay.
the state senator Testa.
Yeah, that's okay. That's funny though. Go ahead.
Right. Anyway, he decided to sponsor a bill that would eliminate protections for squatters. For example, if a legal tenant isn't paying rent, he still has to go through landlord-tenant court as usual.
Yep.
But if somebody just kicks down the front door and moves in without the landlord's permission, under this bill, the squatter would be evicted within 10 days and bypass all the landlord-tenant requirements.
As it should be. Let me ask you this fundamental yet serious question. Does Testa have support of Democrats? Because if he doesn't, then it's a wonderful thing you said that will go absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, well, I should certainly hope so. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm calling. I mean, this bill has been flying under the radar for a couple of months, and I'm trying to get the word out. If enough people call the state legislatures and support this bill, then it has a better chance of passing. Yeah,
Democrats seem to love this kind of thing, though. They hate cops. I know this is generalization, but they hate cops, defund the police. They love criminals. Let's bail them out of jail. It's a crazy thing. I'm reminded, it was a little mini monologue that I did yesterday about a really good guy in Seattle. And he's had somebody squatting in his home for 2 years. He's about to go bankrupt. He's had over $30,000 in legal fees because government money is used by a not-for-profit group. And what they've done on 2 occasions so far over the past 2 years, after it goes on and on and on for like a year and he's almost about to get his house back, this group pays like a year of the back rent. Now, there is no rent because he didn't rent it to this person, but they paid what would be like a year of some arbitrary rent number. And then guess what happens? The clock starts all over again. Then he had a whole nother year and he was about to get his house back and he was at the finish line and they paid another year and now he's back to zero again. This is the madness. This is why you got to love people like Governor Ron DeSantis, what you're saying about Senator Testa. In Florida, though, they're actually doing it. He did it. They have the votes, and these squatters are not going to be able to steal your home anymore. Can you believe that we live in a country where this is tolerated, where government actually gets in the way of somebody being able to get into their own home? As you know, and I can tell you know this, there are people who have gone away on vacation. They come back home and people are living in their home.
Yeah, I know. It's a terrible thing. It's happening all over the country. New York, Pennsylvania, Washington State.
Yep.
And even in Beverly Hills, California. Did you hear about that one?
Yes, I did.
It's preposterous.
Yeah, and they support them. It's like, hey, it's all good. Let's keep it going. I mean, I don't know what they would do if it happened to them. They might get motivated to change the law.
I mean, the whole thing is based on a 150-year-old law. Back when people could just file claims and own land.
Yeah, they weren't taking anybody's home. They were putting their claim in to own land. And it's perverted into when someone actually does have ownership of a property where they can go in and do this. It's gotta end. It's unacceptable.
Right. Anyway, I was sent the full article by messenger to WPG Radio.
Okay. Good.
And right. So if you want the full article, you can go to your messaging and see that.
Yeah, I will. And I appreciate you doing that.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for calling in, too. 609-407-1450. We'll be right back. Our next 2 callers are you and you. I'm Hurley in the Morning on WPG. Talk Radio 95.5. Let's make it a great Friday. We have say in that. We can do that. Proclaim it. Live it. Make it happen.
Hurley in the Morning.
It's a woke society, and I am fed up with it.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Your morning espresso starts right here. It's the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
There's such a high percentage of Americans that if they get hit with $1,000 bill that they weren't expecting, they can't pay it. That's how bad it is. I've lived there. It sucks. It's not fun. After years of targeting fossil fuels, now climate activists aim their lawfare at the agricultural industry. You know, every time the government, like California, suing oil companies and energy companies, and Biden's going to follow suit, who do you think pays for that? You do, because these companies have to hire these big, expensive law firms and pay them a fortune so that they can stay in business. And guess what? That means the cost of the product, the good, the service, that goes up for you. That's not good.
The Sean Hannity Show, from coast to coast, later today.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential. But finding those people can be a major hassle. Unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning.
It's a refreshing drive to work in the morning.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
See that? I'm going to call that validation right there. 18 minutes past the hour, taking your phone calls, which is one of my great joys in life. Open forum, unlike any other, what we do, Monday through Friday, Truth in Broadcasting, 609-407-1450. This July 1st, we will celebrate a full 32 years together, which actually is quite amazing because it now becomes, I've been tracking this in my own mind for several years at least, that it's just, you know, it's just the way things go. You if you start something at about 30 years old, it takes like another 30 years so that it's half your life. But effective literally in a couple of months, we will have been doing this for half of my lifetime, which is both a blessing and really hard to believe because it feels like maybe half that time. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. Glad you called in.
Have you been in radio all your life?
Half my life. Half my life.
Not yet.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
So,
hey, by the way, if it took me 32 years to get to exactly half my life, if I do it for another 32 years, is it all my life? I'm teasing.
It's a great day in the city of Brigantine.
It is.
Harry, I was listening to the opening monologue, and you were talking about how they are making people afraid to say things.
Yes.
And you know, the term there is the chilling effect. And, you know, if you go back to COVID, the COVID experiment was a massive human experiment, nothing more, to see just how easily the populace could be controlled.
Oh, yeah. You know the deal. You spoke out against it. You were one of the few because government and the media, I mean, you got absolutely crushed. I mean, you were called a science denier, you know, all these different, things people got called. And as it turns out, we know they did a lot of lying during all of that.
So they use fear, and fear is the strongest human emotion. You can get people to do just about anything if you can make them afraid that if they don't do that thing, that something bad will happen to them.
Yeah, you're going to die. If somebody tells you do this or you're going to die, most people will do that.
Yeah. Well, I had a program director once who, when I was in radio, who did my employee evaluation. And one of the things that he wrote on my evaluation, after I had signed it, by the way, when I got the copy back, he had added something.
Oh, that's not right.
Yeah. No, I know. But what he said was that, like the song, and he was referring to the Crosby, Stills, Nash song called Teach Your Children.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, just like the song, Andy questions all the answers. And I've always been this way. When you tell me I have to do something, that's when my hackles get up. I need to know why. You have to make the case to me why I have to do something, because I'm a nonconformist. If there's a legitimate reason, then I'll do it. And I've always been the type of person, even as a child, I was the person who would say what everyone else in the room was thinking but was afraid to say. I would get up and say it. I couldn't tell you how many times I stood up in a classroom and called the teacher out for saying something that was demonstrably false or something that the teacher shouldn't have been saying. So my mouth has gotten me into a lot of trouble over the years, but I've also been very successful because of my mouth and the things that I say. That's why I was in radio for decades, okay? Saul Alinsky says that he who controls the language controls the masses. And you look at what they're doing to President Trump over him simply saying what this Judge Merchan's daughter does for a living. By him just saying what she does for a living, the work with Adam Schiff, et cetera, he is therefore attacking her. Just by saying what she does for a living, they use the word attack.
Right, and she has no limits, though, on her free speech, what she can say about President Trump.
Right. And my tactic is the way to defeat a liberal is to simply use their own logic and their own words against them. This is what works. And this is what Trump is doing with the bloodbath comment. He's turning it against them. He's using it, and he's told he can't say that word, so he says it more.
Right.
And
yet they all said it many, many times in the past. They just erase like that never took place and hold him accountable for saying something that they say is going to divide people and do this and do that. I mean, they're just so incredibly dishonest.
It's true. Now, like the transgender thing, I've said this and I'll say it till the day I die. There is no such thing as a transgender person. You cannot change your gender. You're either, at the moment of conception, you're either going to have XY chromosome, which makes you a female, or an XX chromosome, which makes you a male, okay? And no amount of surgery, no amount of medications can change your chromosomes. You are either a male or a female. Now, if you want to identify as a male or female, that's your business. That's fine, but that doesn't make it so. And my rights do not end where you're being offended begins.
And in addition to that, how about this one? We cannot have someone who is a biological male participate in girls' and women's sports. I saw someone interviewed in the last day or so where she's still all messed up because she got spiked in the face by a biological male who's now allowed to compete with the girls, and he demolished her. This is happening in basketball. This is happening in volleyball. It's happening in any field hockey. We saw that one where a girl got her teeth knocked out and was hurt very, very badly by this. And what Joe Biden wants to do, and if he's given another term, he will do it, he wants to change Title IX. Title IX is one of the most important pieces of legislation ever that put women on an equal footing. And what this does, though, by making it easier, and that's what Biden wants to accomplish, making it easier for biological males to compete against girls and women would be disastrous. And what's so sad, the National Organization for Women and many other causes that should be rallying for women, they're rallying for biological males.
Harry, I love you. You know that. We've done battle, but I love you. You love me, just like the purple dinosaur. I love you, but I'm going to call you out. You've gotten caught up in this a little bit. That term you used, biological male. When you say biological male, then the presumption is that there's another kind of male.
No. Biological male, biological female. You jump to some other conclusion that it's some kind of fill-in word that then makes it that there could be a third category and this and that. I'm not saying that at all. Biological male is literally accurate for what you want to say, because when you say biological male, I for example, I didn't call you out when you start talking about the chromosomes, because that's the biological aspect of this. Now, I disagree with that. We're going to have a split decision on that one. And you know me, I'm very persuadable if I've either misspoken or if I get more information and I say, you know what, you're right, I was wrong. Biological male, biological female, I think is an important description based on the fact that what's happening now is by identifying, in other words, you're not a biological female, but by identifying that you are a female, you can now play, football against girls or wrestling against girls or volleyball or field hockey. And that's why I think it's important to actually say that.
Okay, and that's fine, but listen to how I see it and then think about, okay, after I tell you. Like Rachel Levine. People would call Rachel Levine
do me a favor, repeat that. We lost you for about 3 or 4 seconds. You said people would call Rachel Levine, and then we lost you. I think you are, driving at the moment, so we just lost you for a brief moment. People would call Rachel Levine what?
A biological man or a biological male.
Yes.
Now, I simply call Rachel Levine a man because that's what he is. To me, the term biological in that sense is superfluous because there are only men and women, boys and girls.
Yeah, I know, but I think in society, though, when there is a general acceptance to the fact that, and the government I'm speaking about, they've laid this out, that they're recognizing someone who was born a boy, born a man, that if they say they identify as a female, they can now go in the female's locker room, in their bathroom, so on and so forth, play in their, Leah Thomas playing in, Leah Thomas rather. They can play in their, in their sports. So I think you have to still, the English language has to come into play here to be able to keep track of exactly what you're saying. Because if you only said a man, well, Chaz Bono is a man. You may not agree, but Chaz Bono is a man. Is that a fact, or is that a false statement that I just made?
No, Chaz Bono.
Let me say, Chaz Bono was born biologically a female, but Chaz Bono is a male.
Chaz Bono will never be a male.
Well, I mean,
Chaz Bono was
he is recognized in this country as a male because in this country you have the right to identify your gender. You don't have to. You're as a free American, you don't have to agree with that, but that is the legal representation in the United States at this time.
Well, okay, so she identifies as a male. That's fine. She can do that. But
I'm telling you, on legal documents, if you were filing to become an FBI agent, if you were filing for some tax purposes, credit card or whatever, anywhere where you put on the application your gender, Chaz Bono would put male.
And you know what, Harry? That's a bad road to go down. I would say to that which is popular is not always right.
Well, no. I don't even know if it's popular. I think a majority of people don't agree with all this. And it's a very small percentage that do. I'm just telling you that lawfully speaking in our country, that is the way it is right now.
Well, I can tell you it's a good thing that I don't know that you would be able to do it now, having done what you do for a living all these years. I think it would be very difficult for you and I to go back into an office environment where a guy in a dress you have to refer to as a she and use female pronouns, because I will never do that.
Well, hey, look, I gotta be honest with you, Andy. I guess you can be we can be different. The year was 1989, and someone that I knew for a couple of years at least, and I did notice that his hair was getting very long all of a sudden, but I thought maybe it's in style and I just like a short haircut myself, but it was getting very, very long. And I vividly remember the senior vice president that I reported to at the time said to me that David is becoming Diane as of Monday. This is 1989. And guess what? David became Diane. And I don't remember anybody getting all lathered up about it. And we respected the decision, and we then worked with Diane. I had this experience almost 30-some years ago.
Now, in that situation, Harry, I would have no problem calling, what was it, Daniel?
David became Diane.
Okay, so I would have absolutely no problem calling David Diane. I would refer to him as Diane, but I would never use a female pronoun. In other words, you can, if that's the name you want to use now, you're now Diane. I'll call you Diane, but you're still a man in a dress, and I will, if I ever had to do any correspondence, I would never use pronouns. I would always just put the person's name, Diane. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. We didn't. We just didn't overthink the house. Somebody made a decision that they did not believe that they were a man. And remember, now this is at a time where that was extremely, extremely rare. And I think that the folks thought there was going to be a lot of trouble and people, saying messed up things potentially, and it never happened. There was a lot of respect shown, and what everybody thought was going to be a really big deal went by pretty uneventful. It was kind of like, I don't want to compare it, but remember when the world was going crazy when we were going to hit the year 2000? Oh my God, the computers, they only know through 1999. We don't know what's going to happen. We may lose all our records. This is catastrophic. The world is going to end. And it didn't. The computers knew 2000 like it was no problem. And everybody accepted the change without any difficulty whatsoever. In fact, I even remembered thinking about how much of an issue people thought it was going to be, and that it did not become an issue at all. Everybody was very, very decent about it.
Well, it didn't become an issue because everyone was probably in fear for their jobs. And I certainly wouldn't disrespect someone who does this.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, I lived it. I wasn't afraid for my job. It was respect. Somebody was transitioning, and it was just a matter of being professional and respectful and compassionate and decent. I don't remember anybody. And I remember, each department head was called in, not in a group meeting either, one at a time. And no problem. No problem at all. Andy, I'm 6 minutes late for the break, actually 7. I got to go. Drive safe. Have a good day. When we come back, more of your calls. We're going to visit briefly, though, first with Atlantic County Commissioner John Risley, who's going to remember the late, great Dick Squires, our former Atlantic County executive, that if he had continued to run, he would have continued to win. Just did a great job as Atlantic County executive. May have never been a Denny Levinson if Squires had continued for a longer period of time. I mean, in terms of that position, not in terms of existence. John Risley next, and then your calls.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
At 37 minutes past the hour, Andy, you made me late, but I wanted to make sure that it didn't come off that you were not heard. 3 stories that you can follow on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. How did Atlantic City feel about legal gambling in 1953? You might be surprised. A look at this Cape May County town after days of rain activity with photos. Check it out. A whole lot of water, I can tell you that. And there seems to be a lot of this going on in Atlantic City. Check it out. It's on the app.
Good morning. With your South Jersey weather forecast, I'm Joe Kelly. I don't know a lot of things, but I know for sure that we don't need any more rain, and we're not going to have any for the weekend. Yay. Partly to mostly sunny across South Jersey today. High temperature about 51. Overnight tonight, partly cloudy, a low 37. And for tomorrow, partly sunny with a high of 54. The extended forecast, clouds Sunday, high 53. We should hit 60 Monday, 70 degrees on Tuesday. As of right now, no rain in the forecast until at least Wednesday. I'm Joe Kelly.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
People.
Hurley in the morning.
They stick to the facts.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Hey, thank you. Welcome. It's 43 minutes past the hour. Joining us now is the chairman of the Atlantic County Board of Commissioners, John Risley, who's going to talk about the late, great Dick Squires, our former Atlantic County executive, a truly great man. And what a long life, 92 years. Hey, John, welcome.
Good morning, Harry. Good morning to everyone listening.
Good morning to you, and I'm happy that you're here to talk about Dick.
Absolutely. Just one housekeeping thing. This year, Maureen Kern is the current chair.
I stand dutifully corrected. Former chairman.
Yeah, we move it around, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say a few words about, our friend Dick Squires, because he was a friend to so many. And he was a real icon in the area. He was a straight shooter. The integrity was, of course, there with Dick at all times. He was serious about the county. He loved the county. He would ride around the county looking at roads. And, it was never about him. It wasn't...
No. And incidentally, that ride on the roads would be in the very early morning hours. So many times we spoke with Dick Squires on air in the 6 o'clock hour. He was always on top of things. I was thinking about this. The late, great Dick Squires only had one flaw. Do you know what it was, John?
What do you consider the flaw?
And this is just fun. He had a little gag that he would do. He got me, too, but he never got me again. If you didn't know he was going to do it, he would get your hand. You would go to shake hands, and he would purposely, I call it catching you short. He wouldn't put the hand all the way in. He would grab you about maybe halfway through. Then your pinky, ring finger, middle finger, and index finger would get crunched into a heaping pile of pain, and he would bear down with this incredibly powerful handshake. I said, all right, you got me. I said, you're never going to get me again. So the next time we saw each other, I went in, like Speedy Gonzalez. I went in fast, firm, and deep right into his, that crevice between the first finger and the thumb, and that never happened again. But that he shook hands like a real man.
Yes, he did. He was a great guy, and was a real icon in the area. He was a hometown boy in Northfield and tax collector, assessor, and did that kind of work. And I remember Harry vividly the first time he ran for office, 1974. I'm pretty sure it was 1974. I was a young man. I was probably about 17, 18. I was driving, and I was working on the campaigns. I always worked on the Republican campaigns. I remember that particular election, 1974, there was 4 people running for freeholder. Dr. Charles Wilson, Murray Rayfield, Fred Perone, and him. And he was the only one that lost that year. He was the newbie. But I can remember sitting next to him at the old Brigantine Country Club and saying to him, well, there's another election next year. And he ran next year and won.
And as you know, he ultimately became the highest vote getter in Atlantic County. The other thing I remember about Dick, he had a full career as a tax assessor before he even got in to elective public service.
And he kept on winning, Harry.
Oh, yeah.
He kept on winning. He was not flashy. You know, his slogan was like, quietly, I get the job done. And that's the kind of guy he was. And I remember bringing up the topic. I brought up the topic of the county creating a veteran service officer. I found out that we were like one of the only counties in the state that did not have a veteran service officer. And I brought it up at the meeting, and we had a lot of Purple Heart guys there to support that. And then Dick implemented it and got it through and hired Bob Furlow, and we have that office today. And he was always supportive of Veterans Affairs, and we have a lot to thank for Dick Squires. And taking that a step further, this county, you know, from Worthington, Squires to Levinson, and the different boards have served this county well. We, you know, our AA bond rating is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
I attend, Harry, the South Jersey County Commissioners Association meetings, and there's a lot of those, you know, counties that are part of this association. And when I go and I listen, I hear some of the things that other counties are going through. We're very fortunate.
Well, we're so fortunate because we've only had 3 people ever hold the position. And you're talking about many, many decades between, I guess Worthington was just 1 term, correct?
Yes, I believe it was 1 term.
Then Dick Squires became the county executive for decades, and Denny has been the county executive for decades. And we have the finest run county in the state. And every time I say that, very few people take exception to that. We have a debt to equity ratio that is, you know, to just the apple of the eye. In terms of envy of that, and it's hard to argue the results.
Well, our county over many decades, Harry, has been run on a very, very even basis, and that consistency and evenness has really won out.
Yeah, frugality also.
Yes, we have been. I mean, Dick was tight with a buck,
and Denny is even tighter, probably.
Yeah, when I
by the way, it's hard to say what I just said, but it's probably true.
Yeah, when I brought up the idea of a veteran service officer, that was a bit of a radical thing because we were creating a new department. So that was a big deal. But now this county, you know, it's under the county executive form of government. You know, many counties don't have this form of government; they have a different form of government. We're one of the few. And whether it's good or bad is another debate for another time.
Well, I think the results prove that it's beyond debate. You can always have a debate on anything, but the results have been absolutely tremendous. John, here's what I have to do. I've got to get this break in. We'll do more next time. Let's set some time aside where we'll do a whole hour together on this and other things. But I'm really glad that we had the opportunity at least to hear from you talk about Dick Squires, and we'll reconvene in the future. Thank you, John.
All right, take care, Harry.
Yeah, you too, my friend. When we come back, Dan is going to join the program. And Dan, I had promised John yesterday because he wanted to get in yesterday and we had no time that he was going to be able to come on at that time. I went 7 minutes longer than I wanted to with the previous issue, and I'm compressed, but we're going to get you on next. Stand by.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 is proud to introduce our new weekend talk show lineup with more opinions and more opportunities to make your voice heard. Our new shows include Eat, Drink, Smoke with Tony Katz, The Weekend with Michael Brown, Intelligent Medicine with Dr. Ronald Hoffman, The Money Pit Home Improvement Show, Expanded Financial Advice from Dave Ramsey, Ben Ferguson, and more. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 is South Jersey's talk station all weekend long. Hurley in the Morning, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
People.
Hurley in the Morning.
Not only the news, but perspective too.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
55 minutes past the hour. I don't have time to tell you now, but just remind me if I forget. But someday I'll tell you the story. Kirk Conover should have been the county executive. There is a great story there that's never been told. Welcome, Dan, and thanks for hanging in there.
Hey, Harry. Just wanted you to comment on the MSDNC, as they call it now, but the first two letters of the MS part. A lot of people don't know what that stands for.
Microsoft.
There you go. And a lot of public doesn't know that, and then when you have a Microsoft.
By the way, thank you for having confidence in me that you knew that I would know that.
100% I knew you would know it. And CNN, owned originally by Ted Turner.
Correct.
And, basically a gift with Jane Fonda to get that liberal view out there.
Maybe he'll tell it next hour, not next hour, the following hour. Senator Palestina is in a few minutes. Don Hurley has a great story in a restroom at Fulton County Stadium talking to Captain Outrageous. Before CNN even existed, Don Hurley knew there was going to be a CNN. And Ted Turner was talking to Don about, we're going to have 24 hours a day. And Don said, you think people would want something like that, 24 hours a day? Because, we lived in a time where the TV went off. They played the national anthem, and the TV went off at night. That is a cool story, and maybe Don will tell it.
Well, in our worlds, if you have Bloomberg TV, if you have CNN, if you have MSNBC, the only bright light with the White House is talk radio, and they're trying to get rid of you guys. And
they've tried fairness doctrine. They've tried all kinds of things, net neutrality, all of it. I remember, and it's so bad, the fairness doctrine was supposed to mean that if you had Harry Hurley on, you were lawfully required to have the opposite of me. How does anybody, I always said, how does anybody do that? I supported Lorenzo Langford and Chris Christie. I've supported Jim McGreevey and, Jim Florio. I've supported Christy Whitman and not Jim Florio. How do you get the opposite of me? That's impossible.
No, your show is conservative based, and there's a market for it because I guess there is, because it's 32 years.
But yet there are examples where I've gone against the grain of that. So that's why I'm saying, look, if I was a Stepford wife, 100% of the time, right of center, 100% of the time, no deviation, then it'd be easy to find Alan Combs and put him, for 4 hours before or after me. But, let the free market, Air America failed. I predicted it would fail. It was propped up by money. When they ran out of money, they ran out of Air America. And yet conservative talk radio has been able to endure in the free market for decades because it can participate in the free market. That crap radio can't participate in the free market.
Harry, would you call what they did at MSNBC with the host, would you call that an insurrection?
Absolutely. When they hire Ronna McDaniel and they do their crazy, I can't believe they keep those people. That's insubordination. It's an insurrection. Absolutely. Dan, to be continued, my friend. It's halftime. We've got to go. Senator Vince Palestina next. It's Hurley in the Morning.
WPGG Atlantic City. WENJ HD3 Millville. A Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. From Harry Hurley Way and the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
It is 5 minutes past the hour. We're just a few clicks away from our regular scheduled monthly on-air visit with Senator Vince Palestina from New Jersey's 2nd Legislative District. This is a program presented and sponsored by Palestina and Associates, a longtime, highly regarded local engineering firm. And if you're new to this particular program, which we do on the first Friday of every month during the 8 o'clock hour, it's typically just a wide-ranging discussion about the district, about the state, what's going on, what is the senator and the senator's team, the office of the 2nd Legislative District doing for, on behalf of the taxpayers of Atlantic County, and it's typically what we do. With that, we are at 6 minutes past the hour, and a man who is never late. I say I'm always Hurley, never late. Palestina, never late. Senator, welcome.
Good morning, Harry. How are you this morning?
Good. I feel like I'm not saying this to be kind or to to blow smoke, but you're very, very prompt, and that's to your credit, because not everybody. As someone that everything I do is predicated upon time, I'm always very appreciative of that. I confidently, because I came back a minute early, I confidently began the entire introduction knowing that as soon as I spoke the last word, you'd be there before or at that moment, and in fact you were. Good morning.
Good morning. Good timing. Yes. I appreciate it. And always great to be on the airways with you monthly.
Well, let me just bring up something that I thought was unnecessary and rather unpleasant. The beleaguered, embattled, should I continue to come up with adjectives to describe this, mayor of Atlantic City decided, almost like Forrest Gump, for no particular reason, to inject you into his wild and woolly press conference, accusing you of things that I know for a fact are not true. Any thoughts about him dragging you into his misery?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows it's not true. It's interesting. It's a private family matter, and they stress that, and his attorney stressed that over and over and over again. But somehow it's got something to do with me, who has absolutely nothing to do with his family.
Remember, Eddie Jacobs, who was pretty unflappable except for one thing, if that was purely a personal family matter, and they made it a point multiple times between the two of them, both Eddie and Marty, to say, this has nothing to do with me as mayor. Eddie's saying this has nothing to do with the mayor in his official capacity as mayor. It is a private family matter. Well, then why is the apparatus of City Hall and email going out from the public information officer to all Atlantic City employees? Basically, if you get asked to attend, I mean, an official communication, I've worked in large company settings, and if the boss says there's like a volunteer thing, but they're sending it out that they want everybody to go, you didn't have to be told it's mandatory. You knew you better go. So then they have the employees there. I believe there are multiple federal Hatch Act violations about that whole thing. In other words, Senator, I am saying rather bluntly, you can't have it both ways. You can't say it's a personal family matter, but then you use council chambers, city apparatus. You just can't have it both ways.
No, you can't. And certainly I think the way that delved into things that were apparently personal family matters should not have been done in City Hall. He's done other press conferences like that, obviously, using City Hall apparatus and government employees standing next to him that certainly should not be done.
Yeah, so I will confirm, I have speculated that this was coming, but I now have confirmed that the actual, and it's multiple, the U.S. Office of Special Counsel will be receiving multiple Hatch Act violation allegations about the mayor, not just about the the one on March 28th or whatever date. No, that was the day of the raid. He did it the following Monday after that. Well, how can I forget April Fool's Day? The April 1st press conference, but there was also one before that also they have all kinds of evidence where political things were done. You know, you take just the one on April 1st, Senator. Marty Small said that when I run next year, I will win, and if I were running right now, I would win the election. That's not the kind of thing. You can't campaign like that in the official capacity, you know, of your position within City Hall. I'll remind everyone, Mayor Langford didn't even do it. Somebody else sent a mailing out, and it was determined, and it was nowhere near as blatant as some of this stuff that Marty Small has been doing. I believe it was rather unclear whether what went out was a violation of the Hatch Act. Well, Hatch Act complaint was filed. Langford was penalized by not being able to run for elective office for 2 years. So, as you know, Senator, if you violate the Federal Hatch Act, it's no joke.
Definitely no joke. And I mean, listen, we all know politics and government must be separate. You know, no politics allowed in government offices. It's not. That is absolutely against all New Jersey ethics, all federal rules. So it should not happen, and I think that everybody should recognize that as we move forward. I think that, the mixed messages you get out from down here. I mean, you saw the article today where the head of Local 54 is sounding alarm bells. You know, we have been saying it for years. The Casino Association has been saying it for years. The numbers down here from the casino industry, the condition of the city are precarious right now. Yeah. And, the mixed messages you get because you have somebody who now, is under these investigations going around saying things are great. It's just Trenton, spins her head and said, what is going on down there?
What is your reaction to all of that? And then the specter of the sitting mayor having his home raided in the manner that was done and 5 search warrants served. What are your thoughts about all that?
I might have, of course, talked to, Representative in Trenton about it, who are monitoring the thing. I think, like many of these things, let law enforcement do their job. I don't know why his attorney had him going out and doing that press conference. Normally, your attorney says, don't do anything, let the process play out. And I think that's what we need to do. Clearly, between the principal of the high school now with what's happening with the mayor, there are criminal investigations going on through our local law enforcement down here. And so we have to let that play out. And I don't think anybody should be talking about it. I think you got to let law enforcement do their job, do their investigation, and see where it falls. I don't think anybody should really be, highlighting the fact that we have another mayor now that has been raided and that, there's law enforcement investigations into now the Board of Education, the mayor. It's just bad for Atlantic City. It just repeats a narrative down here in Atlantic City that has gone on and on and on and on. And it's sad because the people of the city are the ones that are suffering. The kids in that Board of Education are the ones that are suffering. We got to stop it, and we got to turn that city around. We got to start improving outcomes in the educational system. We got to start giving those kids a chance to succeed. It's just not happening with what is going on. And so, as I've said before, and I'll say again, when you are an elected official, you have an obligation to work with everyone, regardless of party, regardless of where they're from, and it just doesn't happen in Atlantic City. It's interesting with this one, they want to go on and on with whatever they want to go on. We sent the mayor an email January 11th. Now, it's right after the, turn of the new year. We had just gotten sworn in again. We wanted to talk to him and Councilman Shabazz and whoever else about the future of the city. We have the takeover that's going to end. We have the pilot that is going to need to be redone. We have a number of moving parts in Atlantic City, people proposing higher tax rates, cutting down the extension on online gaming. There are so many challenges. Sent an email January 11th. We got a response from the secretary. Okay, we'll get back to you. And now it is April 5th. We've heard nothing, absolutely nothing. So, it's just sad from that standpoint from me. You try to work together. You try to build consensus. You try to do the right things for that city. And you just get crickets on the other side. And in the meantime, they just want to go out and they'll do all these public spectacles all the time, which are doing absolutely zero to further the interests of Atlantic City, to try to improve the situation over there, try to improve that industry, try to, transform and reinvest and redevelop, and all the things that we have been saying for 2.5 years now just are thwarted because you have people who absolutely have no interest in working together.
It's true. And you tried working with this particular mayor of Atlantic City since day one. He just wouldn't have any parts of it. And we've never had an experience like this. It didn't matter the political party. It was many times a Republican senator and a Democrat mayor, just the demographics of the reality. And you need, I believe, and especially with New York City competition encroaching and coming very, very soon, and all the challenges that you mentioned, that the senator and the mayor of Atlantic City, in my estimation, and I hold you harmless because you tried. You can't make someone do the right thing, and he was unwilling to do the right thing. But I've always watched it and covered it with the senator and the mayor of the city, the leading, economic engine of the state, let alone the District 2, where the senator and the mayor of Atlantic City, in my estimation, must have a good working relationship, or things suffer.
That's exactly right, and that's my concern for the people of the city and for the city as a whole. And you cannot point to me. I have relationships with Republicans, Democrats all over the place. Obviously, the governor, and I have a tremendous relationship in the administration and Senate President Scutari and, all the leadership of the Senate and many Democrats down here, former Mayor Langford and former Mayor Frank Gilliam and, George Tibbet and all Democrats all over the place. Speedy Marsh when he was council president. I mean, all over the place. I get along with everyone, but for some reason, this administration and certain people in Camden, obviously, their own interests all the time, only worried about themselves or their bank accounts or whatever's going on. They just don't have an interest in working together. So, we got to try to get around it. We're working on that. You're going to see some big things coming up where we are, working with some of our entities around here to make sure we're still trying to reinvest and redevelop the city. And those efforts will continue. So you'll see some big things coming. Obviously, the relationship with Stockton University never been stronger. The relationship with Atlantic Care never been stronger. The relationship with the Casino Association never been stronger. And so there are many entities around here that we can work with. Atlantic City local government, still have relationships there. And I would encourage City Council, as Councilman Kurtz said, you got to take more of an oversight role. You really got to fulfill your responsibilities now. When you look at the housing authority, you look at the city, you look at this stuff going on, you cannot just sit back.
Board of Education.
Board of Education.
Yeah, you're talking you just said $500 million reasons right there. $500 million a year, just the city and the school purpose tax. 18 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back. We're off and running. He mentioned him in part of his narrative. Senator Palestina did. Atlantic City Councilman George Tibbet will be with us right after Senator Palestina, so we're looking forward to that. I think, I'm going to double check, but I think there may be a rare, it's like a spotted owl or something, a rare Don Hurley sighting. I think he's going to be with us this morning. Looking forward to that, and also looking forward to the rest of this hour with the finest senator that I know. Senator Vince Palestina continues on the Hurley in the Morning program. Don't go away.
You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
Established, reputable.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Wake up weekday mornings with Hurley in the Morning.
Cut the BS and let's get to the truth.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Welcome back. It's 22 minutes past the hour, visiting with New Jersey Senator Vince Palestina, as we do on the first Friday of every month in the 8 o'clock hour. All right, so that we got off right out of the gate flying, and all of that was, I think, really important dialogue. I think we can move on. I do want to make one sort of closing comment. A couple of big mistakes about that whole situation. Number one, that it took place in City Hall. You're going to, unless somehow the U.S. Office of Special Counsel is Democrat and corrupt. I don't know how he's not going to have a problem with the two different meetings that are being called into question, press conferences, including the one on April 1st and one that was prior to that. And there seems to be a lot of evidence that I've seen relative to problems in the way that they were handled with city officials, being told to be there, and the political nature and attacks that were made, political attacks, calling for the one that's being called into question. He called for like a recall of George Tibbet. I mean, you can't, Marty, I know you're listening, Marty, and you say you have a master's degree. You can't do that. And you can't do what you did on April 1st in some cases either, by talking about winning your election. And if the election were today, you'd win. And if the election were, next year, you'd win. So take your master's degree and, do some homework. So that all is a problem. The other thing that I thought was real low rent was Ed Jacobs tried, but you have a client that's a wild client like the small mayor. Eddie Jacobs said this is not about race, this is not about politics. And then because they were so stupid to let Marty speak, he said it is about race, it is about politics, and then he attacked you, the senator, and tried to embroil you in wrongdoing. And I just thought the whole thing was really, really bad. So we've covered that. Let's turn the page. Let's talk budget, because you scored big time in the previous budget cycle. I've heard some things that districts that we know, for example, school districts, are really getting shortchanged this time. And what I'm always mindful of, though, the first thing you hear isn't always what actually is in the budget. If the first thing we heard in the past about Stockton University was so, you would not have gotten the record funding that you were able to achieve. So for me, it's always until it's too late and the vote has happened and the scorching hot pages of the budget are handed at the last second for you to vote on, and it's not in there. I'm always mindful and hopeful that that's always subject to change. But at least at the current time, though, Senator, and I reviewed some of this with Senator Testa last Friday, there are some districts that are really school districts that we know that are getting shortchanged. And I believe some of them in your district.
Yeah, they really are, Harry. It is. It's very, very unfortunate to me from an educational perspective. The way they do this, with their formulas in Trenton, they sit there, and then Senator Testa and I were at the Dennis Township School District, where my Chief of Staff, Joe Berg, is on the Board of Education, and Dennis Township probably highlights, one of the worst situations in the state. They have a very large district, big lots, spread out, huge transportation costs that Trenton just kind of ignores when they do all their formulas. And so I think they spend $1.7 million in transportation itself, and they're not getting funded for that kind of stuff. And it is really crippling the district. But what is going on with the school funding formula is that they sit up there in Trenton, they push their pencils around, they do their math, and they come up with what is called the adequacy budget for each district. That is what is necessary to provide an efficient education. But then what they do is they look at the communities and they say, well, if your property tax values are high and your income levels are high, we're going to give you less money.
There you go.
And that is what they are doing. It's just so unfortunate for our students. Like the notion that Linwood or Mainland or Summers Point in our district here or Dennis Township should get less money because you have, some millionaires living in the town or you have high real estate values is absurd. That's not the way it should be. And so there's a couple things here. I hope in the short term, they're talking about $105 million restoration of the money that was lost in the very short term. So districts will be made whole based on what they got last year. But, long term, we really need to look at this funding formula. The opposite of what is going on in some of these districts is Atlantic City, where The adequacy budget last year was $113 million. That's what Trenton or $145 million. I'm sorry. So, Trenton will say, Atlantic City, you need $145 million to provide an efficient education for your students. We're going to give you $113. So now they have a gap of $32 million, which the state says that they can come up with through local property taxes. But, they exclude the pilot. They exclude some of the other things going on. And so last year, the amount that the local Board of Education in Atlantic City spent, excluding federal sources and other grants, was $227 million. That is 55 and 27, $82 million more than what Trenton said was necessary to provide an efficient education.
Wow.
And you just sort of scratch your head, like, what is going on here? Why are some districts treated so unfairly because there's some notion that they can fund their local education through property taxes, which, as an underlying theme, is not really right anyway. How should the local education system be tied to property values? It just should not happen.
That's my pet peeve. 32 years of doing this, I have spoken out against that. People should look at what they do in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I mean, putting it on the backs of the taxpayers was the worst thing that this state ever did. And it didn't seem to matter years ago, Senator, because the costs were not like they are now. But what a burden, especially people on fixed incomes, to just be told this is thorough and efficient education requirements, and here's the number. And the only thing that can be cut are things that are not in the thorough and efficient educational side of the budget, and that's only your extra and co-curricular activities. So you could cut sports and you could cut the band and art, and do these things, but I don't advocate that because I think they're very important, those extra and co-curricular activities in the sports. Here's the other thing that's always been a problem with me. As a broadcaster, as a taxpayer, when I was a school board member, it always seemed that the districts that tested the best, that did the best job, they got less than poor performing districts. In other words, we reward failure. Now, that might not be a perfect statement, but I think it's pretty darn accurate.
Yeah, and I think you look at, and it's an underlying problem in society that we have talked about. You look at places like Dennis Township, parents very, very involved in the students' education and involved with the district. You look at places like Linwood, where people move specifically for the educational system, and you have parents way more involved in the educational system. And these areas where people test better, people do better, are areas where you have your educational system, and then you have, parents at home reinforcing, and parents involved in the extracurricular stuff, and parents involved in sports. And it is just a situation that we need to get back to in society, where parents are way more involved in children's lives and reinforcing what they are learning in the school system. And I think that is a huge part of what is going on. You think about when your kids were raised. I think about my kids now. Parents that are more involved, you're going to have better outcomes with children, with the educational system. And I think that's really what we got to get back to, is having the notion that, parents are part of the educational system. Parents are going to be included. Parents are going to be notified, so that ultimately they are reinforcing at home what kids are learning in school.
So important what you just said. We'll be right back. 32 minutes past the hour already. We always talk about how we run out of time. It's going to happen again. We're already past halftime, and I feel like we just said hello. Back in just a few minutes. Don't go away.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network. With
Senator Vince Palestina, I am early in the morning with 3 stories that you can follow right now on our WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. How did Atlantic City feel about legal gambling back in 1953? Read my article. You might be surprised. I was surprised. A look at this Cape May County town after days of rain activity. 2 amazing photos. Spoiler alert, a lot of water. And there seems to be a lot of this going on in Atlantic City. Check it out on the app.
Good morning with your South Jersey weather. I'm Joe Kelly. Hey, no rain in the forecast, at least the next several days. We're looking at a partly to mostly sunny day across South Jersey today. High temperature about 51. Overnight tonight, partly cloudy, 37. Tomorrow looks partly sunny and 54. Sunday looks mostly cloudy and 53. as of right now, Monday and Tuesday, 60 Monday, 70 will be the temperature on Tuesday. Next chance of rain as of right now will not be till next Wednesday. Enjoy your weekend. I'm Joe Kelly.
Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG.
Today.
Hurley in the morning.
We need proper representation.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
That's interesting that you would say that. We have it right here. Proper representation in the form of Senator Vince Palestina from New Jersey's 2nd Legislative District. What are your thoughts? I mean, obviously you have enjoyed the collegiality of an effective working relationship with the governor, and there have been issues where you simply your compass, your priorities and principles and what's in the best interest of the district, if they don't line up, you're not 100% that you can support everything that Governor Murphy wants to do, but you've been able to be very collegial. I think it's the absolute way to be. It's very Gormley-esque. It's very Palestina-esque. And I know the results are quantifiable, that it proves that it's a much better approach than simply just being partisan and opposing everything. And then what do you get? I mean, what do you get for that? You wouldn't get record funding for Stockton. You wouldn't get a lot of other things. Even though some of these things look like, that people, places, and things are going to be shortchanged, I'm always mindful that anytime I've approached Governor Murphy with something that's reasonable, he's a reasonable person. Like if, for example, if there are multiple districts or a district or school district within your legislative district that, hey, could you, take a look at this? This is not fair. This is not equitable. I believe the end result that you're going to be able to achieve is not going to be where we are right now. Your thoughts about that comment?
Couldn't agree with you more from my standpoint, Harry. Obviously, there have been instances where we have not agreed and, or have frank, blunt conversations about disagreements. But overall, they have been great. When you look at our judiciary, when you look at appointments to Stockton, appointments to other boards around here, they have been fabulous to work with. I have had absolutely no problem whatsoever, working through things with them, a number of different issues down here, and they have been wonderful to work with. Never once have I ever felt like they were going to be stabbing me in the back. You can't say that in politics a lot, as you know. It is a different world, and anybody who has not been in it probably doesn't understand, because you just never know where the knives are coming from when you're, in these positions. It is just so unfortunate. And you bring up, you highlight something that even I think from my time in the Assembly, which was 2008, 2011 to present, there is just this, it's kind of this visceral reaction now. And it's both parties. It's Republicans and it's Democrats that, if the Democrats bring something up that automatically, Republicans are opposed to it. You look at the Anchor program, which has been great for people, $1,500. You look at Stay New Jersey, they started calling gimmicks. And I just think it's unfortunate. The same thing on the other side. If Republicans bring something up, Democrats all of a sudden have this visceral, negative reaction to it. It's just, I don't follow it. I think that you got to look at the policy and check at the door that it may be from the other party. And that's how we try to deal with it. We look at the underlying policy, we look at, the procedures, and we try to make the best decision for the people of the district, regardless of whether it's coming from Republicans or Democrats. And that's the only way I know how to do it. And that's the way, I'll continue to do it here. I don't focus on party. I focus on the policy. And that's, I think that's what makes it different here in Atlantic County. Clearly, people like Senator Gormley, served here, legacy that will be unmatched probably ever, for this district. And that's the way he did it. It wasn't Republican, Democrat. It was about Atlantic County. It was about this city, this industry, furthering the interest of this region. And that's what we are focused on. I said before, and we'll say again, we have things here that probably nowhere, maybe nowhere in the country do you have the advantages we have here from our geography, from the beach and the boardwalk, and an industry that, no one else in the state has, an international airport, just so many built-in things here that we can take advantage of, and that's what we're trying to do, to build, other industry here, to work with Stockton, work with Atlanticare from the healthcare and educational perspective, really focus on the aviation research park. We're about to get the announcement from the EDA that the balance of the funding for the research park is going to be provided by the Economic Development Authority. And so I was hoping that would happen by next week. I don't know if it will happen by next week, but it's imminent. We're about to have that secured, and we're about to get that project out to bid. Atlanticare, of course, has a big, and I saw some of your articles on how important Atlanticare is to the region and how they provided you some great care. And, I'm working very, very closely with Michael Charlton, who was the new CEO at Atlanticare, on some initiatives.
Hey, listen, I am so pumped up about this week with the Atlanticare 2030 initiative. You talk about forward thinking. You have a lot of people out there, they're worried about today and tomorrow. Here, they're looking 6 years down the road and beyond. And I'm so mindful of something that I want to squeeze in, and then we'll get the break in. And I'd like you to comment right after the break, if you would, Senator. When you decided, and I was very, very pleased, obviously, when you did, both personally and professionally, when you decided after a decade to come back, I call it the Palestina Doctrine. The whole purpose of you running for office again and winning now multiple elections as a senator was to, quote, get things done. What other reason would there be? I mean, I know there are people that love politics and run to just play politics and win the next election and get nothing done, oppose the other side 100% of the time, and talk acerbically and get nothing done and just bloviate. But I'm a fan of what I call the Vince Palestina Doctrine, and that is actually getting things done. I'd like you to comment on that when we come back, because I think, after all, that should be the whole point.
Wake up weekday mornings with Hurley in the Morning.
This is the stuff we need to talk about.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5, and the WPG Talk Radio app. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
Get us someone in the White House that's actually going to do something.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
What would that mean? Palestina 2028. After all, it is going to be an open seat. I'm just kidding. Visiting with Senator Vince Palestina at 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tibbett. Next hour, we haven't had a official mental health break because there's just been so many things that Dateline Atlantic City have had to be talked about that we haven't been able to do the official mental health break. I'm going to try to get back to that today. We'll see what Tibbett says when he arrives in just a few minutes. So I said right before the break, Senator Palestina, that when you decided to come back a decade ago, and now you've won multiple terms as the senator, that your entire, I call it the doctrine, the Palestina Doctrine, was you're running and you want to be the senator because you want to get things done. I mean, I know that almost sounds stupid for me to say it like that, but isn't that the whole point, though? Getting things done, meaning good things done that benefit the lives of the residents of Atlantic County.
Absolutely. That's what it was all about for me. That's what it is all about for me. It is just about how can we get things done and improve the situation around here for the city, for the region, for all the people around here. And that's what it'll continue to be, Harry. That's the only thing I focus on. I kind of laugh sometimes when, people say to me, this is, they get out of a race and they just are looking at the next race, or they're in a position, they're just looking at the next position. They're always trying to jump and do this and do that. And I just kind of, shake my head, because that's not what it is about for me. I am not, sitting here looking at what is the next race going to be or where am I going from here. I am focused on what can I do for District 2 and Atlantic County. That is all it is about for me. And it's just interesting to me when I hear people say, like, it's a passion for me and I just want to do this. And you see these people who, it's just their life. They have nothing outside of it. And I don't get that. Just not the way I'm constructed, not the way I'm built, and never going to be that way. It is something that I love doing because I love getting stuff done, and I love being able to be in a position to improve this region and improve our area, but not something that, is my entire life. I have a lot of other things outside of this that I very much enjoy doing as well. And so I'm never going to be, you talk about citizen legislators. I admit I got the business, I got the family, I got a lot of things I like doing from a recreational perspective, and a lot of friends, a lot of great family. And so I'm always part of the life and part of what I'm doing, but never going to be the sole focus of what I'm doing. So,
which I think is a really good thing because you're directly affected. This is the way that the state of New Jersey, as you well know, and I want our listeners to know this just as well, set the government up. The Constitution of the state of New Jersey, they wanted a citizen legislature. It was like a throwback to how the country was formed, that your farm would be destroyed if you stayed in for too long. You would get in, make a difference, get out, and be directly affected by the decisions that you make. I think what happened in New Jersey, which was very, very dangerous, when it became full-time careers for the elected officials, and they were not affected by the decisions that they were making, because unlike Palestina, they only signed the back of the check, to put it in as a deposit into their demand deposit account. But you actually sign the front of checks and have a payroll to meet and have employees, to provide wages and fringe benefits and all this too. So that's the way it's supposed to be.
That's the way that absolutely was supposed to be, and I think, unfortunately, it's probably going to get a little bit worse now with the raise that the legislature gave themselves.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Don Clare and I voted against that, but, going up to $82,000 for, what is supposed to be a part-time job, it's kind of insane. I mean, you think about,
my whole feeling about that, Senator, is it's the kind of job that you should already have income. You should already have either a business or be an employee somewhere full time, and that you're doing this as giving back. So I think it should have gone the other way. There shouldn't be any salary, but it's not unreasonable for there to be a nominal salary. And I guess it's in the neighborhood of almost $50,000 or something right now. Increasing it, you start getting now in that territory of the worst mayor in America, this woman in Illinois making $300,000 a year. When they start voting themselves the treasury, we lose the country.
Absolutely. And, the $82,000, I think if you look at the median income in Atlantic County, the last numbers I saw, the median income was somewhere around $56,000 for a full-time job. Yeah. So the notion that, part-time legislators are going to get $82,000, like you're saying, I mean, there is travel back and forth to Trenton. There are things that, cost money from a legislative perspective. And so certainly a nominal salary is reasonable. But, to go to, that much above the median income in Atlantic County just didn't make sense to us. So no. I think it's unfortunately going to get a little worse.
And there's 9 million people in this state, and most of them live paycheck to paycheck, probably 80% that they didn't get a $30,000 increase.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that, snap your fingers, and all of a sudden, lame duck session last year, you get a $30,000 increase in your salary. So, but we'll see. It doesn't kick in until 26. We'll see what kind of impact that has as we move forward.
And maybe Governor Jack Ciattarelli, which I'm very excited about, because you talk about changing the game. 3 minutes. Let me get you to share your best 3 minutes on this topic. Much like we had the contraction and lost 4 casinos back in a previous era, New York City casinos are lurking right around the corner. It is the single greatest threat to the Atlantic City casino gaming jurisdiction that we have known since Pennsylvania basically took 3/4 of the convenience gamblers away from Atlantic City. This is why, and I believe we'll have a new mayor in time. It's ironic. He was talking about all these people that are going to be finished, and he's going to finish this one off and that one off. And meanwhile, he's going to be gone. And I really believe that he will not be here very much longer, in my opinion. And we need that, because Atlantic City has to be great. By the second that the doors open in New York City, Atlantic City has to be great. And it's not great right now, Senator.
It is not, and tremendous concern. Obviously, something that we are incredibly focused on. And talking about building relationships, one of the things that I'll be doing before the next time I'm on the air next month is hosting the governor's chief of staff, Diane Teddy Gutierrez down here, along with the acting DOT commissioner, who will be visiting the district at the end of the month, doing a little tour with me, looking from a transportation perspective, what we need to do to reinvest back in this area. We're going to look at some of the flooding issues in West Atlantic City, going to look at, the Shore Mall area and that whole traffic situation, obviously going to look at the research park and have an opportunity to talk about Atlantic City, globally and seeing what we need to do. So, again, building relationships, bringing, the senior staff down here and hosting them in the district, that I think is going to be a tremendous thing. I heard from the governor directly yesterday about some additional funding that is coming to the region. As I said before, they have been great, really appreciative of the investments that we are getting between Stockton and the Research Park, Atlantic Care that we got last year and expect to get again this year. Some really tremendous things happening. You're going to see some of that again with Atlantic Care next week, as you mentioned, on April 10th. You're going to hear some stuff coming out from Stockton that is tremendously exciting for this region. And so we are absolutely focused on that. New York Gaming is going to present a significant challenge to this region from the perspective of people driving down here from New York. We have to reinvest. We have to utilize the airport, our aviation, technology down here, and our aviation economy down here has got to be invested in, and we really got to reinvest in that city. I said it again, all the time. This whole notion that the finances in the city are good is bogus. They basically bankrupted the CRDA to pay off the city's debt service. That is what has been going on, and so you have lost hundreds of millions of dollars in reinvestment in that city by what has happened over the last several years. And so I appreciate it. 10 seconds. I appreciate it, Harry. Always great. And we'll be back next month and update you on everything that we've had an opportunity to do with the governor's chief of staff and DOT commissioner and everything going on.
Look forward to it, Senator. Thanks for a great visit. Until next time.
Sounds good, Harry. Thanks for the time. Talk to you soon.
Pleasure.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
Kelly.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the Broadcast Pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Welcome back. It's 6 minutes past the hour. TGIF. Hope your morning is off to a great beginning. Hope you're enjoying the fact that for the first time in more than 4 days, we're not going to have rain. And it looks like that there's no rain in the forecast, according to Joe Kelly, until next Wednesday. I'm hoping that doesn't even happen because there's a very important event on Wednesday, and I don't feel like dodging rain to get there. We'll be telling you more. Next week is very, very big in Atlantic City and in the greater Atlantic City area. It is a very, very consequential week coming up, which, Councilman Tibbet, brings me to my first question to you, or comment for your opening remarks. There are so many things right now that we have to line up to make sure that Atlantic City is in the best position that it can be in relative to New York City gaming competition coming. We all know what it was like when 4 casinos closed, and we had the highest unemployment rate in the country, the highest home foreclosure rate in the country. I didn't say that in the state or even in the county. I said in the country. This would be, in my opinion, if Atlantic City isn't buttoned down and ready to go, and the perception and reality of it being safe, and that it is a destination resort that people come to with confidence, we're going to lose at least 2 more casinos.
Harry, unfortunately, I think you're right. You see me week after week after week like a broken record, to where I don't even know if people even listen anymore. Come on here concerned about our casino workers, what I see daily, what I see every night when I drive the streets, how quiet the businesses are, how quiet the casinos are. The best thing really is these reporting of the numbers each month, because the average person believes these casinos are making a fortune, when in fact it's your online numbers and your sports books that are making a fortune. But that money gets split. And don't forget, every dime won, there's also, you have to pay out.
For people
the money
who
isn't
just
there.
see $2 billion,
in business.
The house is not getting that much of the digital type
the
stuff.
real measuring stick is in-person casinos, in-person visits.
Yeah, heads in beds, and you want the dining covers, and you want the shopping that takes place, and all the different things, and how the community, and as you know, because you're a businessman, that's another thing that's very strong about you being in office, because you also, for many, many years, have signed the front of a check.
Absolutely.
And I mean, Marty,
without pay
give me
months.
a break. Marty Small, this guy, I mean, he is a lifetime poster child of somebody that sucks off of the public, you know what. His entire, I'm not saying this to be unkind, that's his whole existence is political.
Public dollars.
And that's the worst case scenario when it comes to what we're trying to accomplish here. 20-some million people a year come to Atlantic City. We have to keep the destination mature, moving forward, increasing the experiences. That's why I think it's really important some of the activities that are not gaming related that people will come to be a part of, the island park and different things. It's really important to have things outside of just gaming. I'm excited about the fact that we have an economy now that's EDS, it's meds, it's technology, it's the aviation research park, and yes, also casino gaming. We're a very diversified community when we get all this buttoned down, George.
Yeah, Harry, and sometimes you hear me, I'm not very big yet, keyword yet, on the positives that Stockton has had on Atlantic City, because I look at spin-off dollars. You can come to my town, build with state money, which is my tax money, your tax money, and everybody else's, and build these beautiful buildings. But if the kids aren't walking the streets, if the kids aren't visiting the eateries and all the other little businesses and giving us those spin-off dollars, why do I need you to build on oceanfront property?
Well, part of that is the crime in Atlantic City, and they're not going out and doing that.
To be fair, that's why I said yet.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any impact, and if you talk to the business owners, yet. But why is the yet? What is the definition of this yet you keep saying, right?
Okay, well, here we go.
So here's the definition.
All right, go ahead, and then I have a follow-up.
The definition is, who in the right mind wants their children running around the city of Atlantic City, seeing all the drugs on the street, seeing the crime that's all over the place,
the violence,
and these kids now become prey.
Yeah.
Which now isn't giving Stockton the opportunity to be its full potential to the community.
And as you know, I refer to the expression college town.
Yeah.
I always
go to Boston. It was amazing in Boston.
There you go. I always want Atlantic City to be known as a college town. But when you go to jurisdictions that are safe, you do see them all over the community.
You go to Boston, like my son used to play hockey at Boston University in the summer. You go there every year and play. And in the summertime, the most amazing thing that I saw was that town was jam-packed with people getting their summer educations, coming back and getting extra work in. I couldn't believe how busy it was in the summer. God knows what it was like in the wintertime when they're in full-time. But, we have the potential with Stockton to really explode. We're a tourist town for casinos that happens to have a college in it right now.
Yep.
And the potential is definitely there. Look at it. Where do you get the ocean and the beaches that we have?
You just have to make Atlantic City safe.
But back to what we started out with, like with these casinos. These jobs that are at risk, the people that work in the tip business, they're not making the tips that they used to when you have the valet.
Yeah. And this is mortgages to be paid and
you
all
got
these
your
things.
Waiters and waitresses out there, and all their jobs throughout this county depend on us and the way we govern and keep the city safe and clean. Walk down Atlantic Avenue. I mean, we're the mini mart capital of the world. Now we're going to be the cannabis capital of the world,
Oh.
and none of them are going to be doing. You look at it now; there's hardly any business in these places.
Councilman Tippett, let me ask you about the embarrassing mayor of Atlantic City. You know, the raid on his home, the fallout about all of that. You know, he can say that he's cherished and all these incredibly, you know, self-absorbed, crazy statements that he makes. None of them are true. I don't even know if he believes them, but he says them. What's been the reaction? I want to say to City Council, but you to one member of City Council, you, and anything else you want to say relative to that in terms of the raid and the perception of another mayor of Atlantic City, and all of that is just terrible for business.
I try not to speak on this much, but you have to. Everywhere I go, I get questioned. I can't go out to eat without being questioned about it, and you try and take the neutral approach because it does involve family. And
you want to say, let it see how it plays out, law enforcement.
No, I just don't like talking about.
Yeah.
There's kids involved, and that hurts me in the heart. No matter his kids, my kids, your kids, anybody's kids, you know, it hurts you in the heart because kids are kids, and all our kids have made mistakes in the past, and it's how we as adults help them get through those mistakes. So I'm very uncomfortable talking about anybody's kids when they make mistakes in life. But
in reality, though,
the
this
worst
is about the adult behavior.
The worst thing anyone could have did was that press conference, because
it was terrible.
Now people are asking even more questions. Now people are putting their 2 cents in, and
that was literally the dumbest thing that this man that professes he has a master's degree, where in his master's degree did he think what he was saying that day was good for him, good for his family, good for the city, good for anything? That was terrible, George.
Harry, if I ever get in this position to where I have to do something like that, please punch me in my face if I attempt to do something like that, and stop me. And just if it's private, keep it private. Make a brief comment. Let your attorney make a comment. That
Eddie Jacobs would have handled it fine.
I would have left it with Eddie.
Yeah, he would have been fine.
And
the only thing that I will tell you what's a problem, and I want to ask you as an elected official, and we'll go to the break. You'll come back and address this when we come back. This was declared by both the attorney, who's a great one, Eddie Jacobs, and the mayor himself, that this was 100% a personal family matter. It had nothing to do with Marty Small as mayor, his job as mayor. He didn't have money in the house. He didn't do this. It's not that. It's nothing to do with him as mayor. It's 100% personal. I want to get your take, and then I will follow up on something that I know is in the offering right now. What you think about using the apparatus of City Hall, City Council chambers, the public information officer, and you have too many of them. It's a joke. My God. You could hire 2 or 3 more cops and maybe have 1 PIO. And you don't even need 1. But you don't need 4. But one of the PIOs, and he's in the article that we wrote, sent out an email to the entire email distribution list of the city of Atlantic City, inviting people to come to, quote unquote, a personal matter. I want to get your take on what you think of that, and I'll share my thoughts after. Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tippett continues. This is
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
It's well-balanced conversation.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
It's the topics that matter to me.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. It's 22 minutes past the hour. Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tippett on the Hurley in the Morning program. What is your reaction as a member of council that the mayor utilized the apparatus of City Hall, email to all employees, the council chambers, for what he professed to be a 100% personal family matter? It's a problem, isn't it?
Well, first and foremost, if you hear me something that I never do is or whatever. If you ever hear me do that lately, it's because I'm thinking, I'm being very careful because I know I have lawyers just waiting for me to make a mistake so that he could attempt to sue me. And so I'm being very careful. Yeah. So if people in the audience hear me do that, I'm not an idiot. I don't.
But I'm glad you're careful.
Very careful.
I'm glad
extra
you're careful.
But not to make a mistake, innocent mistake.
At one press conference, he actually brought you up, and if I remember the exact quote, it was that they're going to recall your ass. I think that word was used, but certainly recall you. How do you have like the fire chief, the police chief, and standing there at this press conference, and he's talking about recalling you?
Harry, I'm a construction worker at heart. I love a good Yo Mama contest. You know, I laugh at it. I've been called worse. I've been said worse about me. As long as my children and my family and my wife and all loves me, that's all that matters to me. I laugh this off. So let them, they could do what they want. Do me a favor. Every time a door closed in my life on anything, it's gotten a million times better. So sometimes when people help close a door for you, they open another one even bigger, and you know.
But I appreciate it's a great answer, but on the merits of using the government of Atlantic City for political purposes, that's not allowed.
Harry, yes. To get back to your original question, yeah, that's terrible. That it's constant. That the resources of the city, you know, mayor, president, everybody, like they get to use the plane to go on their campaign. I get all that.
The president
but you have to use good judgment
from the Hatch Act.
Yes.
But Marty Small is not.
And this is where it comes into play. A very good, successful leader surrounds himself with the best, the smartest, people that are smarter than you. You don't go find people less than you so that you could be the smartest in the room.
Let me give you an example, though. Wouldn't you think you got Steve Persky right there. Wouldn't you think Steve Persky, the author of the Casino Control Act, a really, smart man, a lot of political acumen, wouldn't you think he would say, Marty, you can't have a press conference like this. You can't attack.
Somebody should have saved him from him.
Yeah.
And I get it. He's emotional, and rightfully so. I'd be emotional, too, with everything that's going on. But you got to have people around you with chutzpah to say, no, you can't do this. Protect you from you.
So here's my understanding. Not one, but 2 Hatch Act violations are going to be filed with the U.S. Office of Special Counsel. The press conference where he said that they're recalling you, blatantly political, and a violation. And then the last one on April Fool's Day, when this self-admitted personal matter became the uses of the city property, both the email system to all employees. It involved every employee in the city. This is, if anybody thinks what Langford allegedly did that got him a 2-year ban,
yeah.
I think he's got criminal problems, because obviously there were 5 search warrants that were served, and we'll not comment further about that, except to say that they didn't do that for no reason, in my opinion. So I think he's got a big criminal problem, but this Hatch Act thing is serious business.
It is, and for the record, I'm not the guy filing on a Hatch Act. Like I said, I like a good Yo Mama contest here and there, back and forth. But every elected official that stood there because you were a coward, I shouldn't have did it.
They have a problem too.
They have a problem, and anyone else employee that sat up there and sat through it and didn't walk away, you could be heavily fined.
Yeah,
if you're not an elected official.
I feel bad for Chief Sarkis, for Chief Evans. Evans obviously is much more political than Sarkis. I don't see that much political about Sarkis, and if there is anything political, it's much more subtle. Mm-hmm. Evans, obviously a former mayor, very political creature in nature. He's right there, and it's just stupid to be there for something is wrong.
Yeah.
It is wrong to attend a so-called press conference while a mayor is saying we're recalling, a councilman. That is bad.
Let me give you a perfect example. Once that thing started on his little rant that he did with me, You see Kaleem Shabazz hightail it out of there?
Yeah.
It's right in the video. Boom, he's gone.
Yeah.
He's having no part of it.
And he's got clean hands because when they come to him, he can
left.
say, look, I thought it was a press conference with the mayor. Once he started
that
talking
direction, he got it out of there.
I got right out. There's video to show. I saw that.
Yeah. He
knew.
It's not I wouldn't brush it off if I was anybody that was there.
Well, all I can say is I don't even know that Langford violated the Hatch Act.
This was just a letter that somebody else sent out.
Yes.
But his letterhead.
Yes. He was banned from running for public office for 2 years in the state of New Jersey. That would take Small out of the next election. But again, I
doubt it. Jim tells me he'll.
Well, so it's okay to do that to Langford, but
he'll get up there and scream race this, race that, and try and get a pass on it.
So you can do it to Langford, but you can't do it to Small.
Well, one good thing we learned from all this, you see how good of a Mayor Langford was.
Oh yeah,
and Don Gordian was.
Yeah,
Mayor Langford. He fought a lot of people like I did and got a very bad reputation of being arrogant and everything else. No,
and he wasn't.
They took his confidence and talking about a lot of those subjects that they plastered him with being arrogant. He was right about the cost of the land at the what did we call that site before?
H-Track?
The H-Track, yeah, thank you. The H-Track, when it's broken down how much per square foot that other property was selling for and what we were selling that for, and why Rennie was attempting to block that. Even Stockton going around him and not sitting down with him first. He is the mayor. You sit down with him first. Looking back, you see how good of a mayor he actually was, and the professionals that he had around him. He put a good team together, as did Don Gordian. Don Gordian, I would say, is the absolute best ambassador for the city of Atlantic City. By far. I mean, a genuine love. Rennie was very serious.
Yeah.
Don was outgoing, an ambassador, loved the city, loved to show people come to Atlantic City,
warm and
have
fuzzy.
a good time. It is what it is. It's a party town. It's a tourist town. Come have time, spend your money here in Atlantic City, go home.
Would you ever run for mayor?
Nah, Harry, I'm at the point in my life, asking me today, anything changes tomorrow, but I'm at the point in my life. You know what hurts me when you look at this Facebook stuff?
Because you could be good.
I'd be excellent, but I don't know that I'd be able to deal with the state, because I would be excellent as far as a business person goes, understanding business, understand how things go. But understand something, a business person cannot come into a municipality and be a mayor, because business laws and practical business practices do not apply in public work. So I don't know that I'd be able to bring my private world experience in running businesses into a public because of the rules and the laws that are on the books. Hiring, firing, you can't go through and get rid of the dead waste.
Right.
All that stuff that you would do in the private world, you got to carry that. And guess what? It's now on your shoulders. It now represents you. And I don't know that I could tolerate that for a couple months. If you think I could take what the state is doing now, allowing this type of stuff, the biggest waste. Marty can't do nothing without the state allowing him. So to keep blaming Marty is wrong. You have to blame the people at the state that is allowing this stuff. Who is overlooking these purchases, these hires? Now we're going to hire somebody, a loan officer? Since when did we get in the banking business?
Crazy. Answer this after the break. We're at the halftime break, believe it or not. It's flying.
Wow, yeah.
In terms of, I agree with you, it isn't Marty alone. It's Marty's bad policies and ideas being sanctioned by the state, and it's been terrible. I feel like that has changed, that cloak of protection that he had, I don't know that it's there anymore. We're going to know soon enough, but I think that he ran out of time with that.
I don't see nothing changing, so show me something that changed to make me believe that comment, please.
Okay, when we come back, we'll further that a little bit more and much more straight ahead at 32 minutes past the hour. It is the Hurley in the Morning program with Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tibbett. Don Hurley has the day off. And yes, with regrets, it's not an official mental health break. There's just too much going on.
The WPG Talk Radio app is everything South Jersey on your phone and in your car through Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Local news, weather, and information updated around the clock from New Jersey's largest radio news team. Easy access to WPG podcasts and more. Powered by Smokers Haven. You'll find the finest selection of cigars at any of their 5 locations. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. Visit SmokersHavenNJ.com. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning.
It's a woke society, and I'm fed up with it.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Welcome back, Hurley in the Morning. Thank you for spending this part of your Friday with us, TGIF. One and all. You got it in there quick, so we know your take on it, but talk further about what we were chatting about during the break. Or do you have something that's
I
coming?
just want to say 11 text messages says, never say never, don't put it out there now that you're not going to run for mayor. The question was, would I run today? And I said, no, not today. Anything could happen in the future.
To be fair, the question wasn't,
my heart is in my life right now.
My question was, would you ever consider running for mayor? And because a lot of people...
You never say never about nothing in this business, but...
You've been running at large for 5 election cycles, correct?
If the federal government, if the feds don't come in here and finish the job, they go after people like Craig for applications and stuff. No one has ever said Craig stole the ballot, filled out a ballot, stole the vote. So far, all you're hearing is his application. But you're not going after the people that go in people's mailboxes, take their ballots out, come back to them with the ballot open, and make you fill them out in front of them. The old, we're not in the Middle East where you're being run by dictators. Well, a lot of these older people in the Mideastern community, they're not far away from that dictatorship and where they're afraid. They're still afraid from what they experienced their whole life in their homeland. Now they're in America where we fight for your rights. So that vote is the most important thing for you.
And it's very intimidating.
Until they finish all that, it'd be difficult to win an election when you got people selling their souls for pennies.
Everything I do is for a reason. I don't waste 1 second of airtime. The reason I raised the issue, would you ever consider running for mayor? I think, and I'm not saying this to antagonize, or to be a smart aleck, because you know me. I don't have viciousness in my heart, in my body. I don't ever wish anybody to lose their job. I believe in karma. I don't ever do that kind of thing. I just have my sensibilities tell me, and I'm usually right about these things. I knew when Bob Levy wouldn't be mayor any longer, and I was by myself for a long time on that in the media. I'm speaking. I knew when Frank Gilliam wasn't going to be mayor for very much longer, and so on and so forth. I believe there's going to be an opening for mayor in Atlantic City.
Well, I always second guess myself because I'm a very, very intense business person, breaking down cost of things, waste. And I always say to myself, well, what if you were mayor? What would you do? And how would you make the changes? And then I apply it to the laws that are on the books. And I'm like, damn, I'm going to probably get recalled the first year with the changes some of the things that I would change.
But I mean, for example,
when it comes to public safety, I believe in everybody in public safety. And I want to give a shout out to the firemen when we're done here. But in public safety, every person that goes in on, say, a fire, you're dependent on the person next to you. Every single person has to be the best of the best when you're going in there. Otherwise, you may not come out of that fire. I do not pick people because they're friends and family. I do not pick people because of the way they look, whether they're male, female, this, that. I will help everybody in the city get the advantage on living in the city. As long as you can pass the test, you could do the PT, you could pass all that physical training. No, if you can't do it, if you can't do that physical training, guess what? That physical training is hard for a reason.
Yeah, so you can show
if you're in a fire and the ceiling caves in and you got to carry somebody out, you got to have that endurance to keep going when you want to quit.
Hey,
if you don't do the physical training when you're in the academy, how dare you make the fire department? Yeah. How dare you put the other guys' lives at danger that you could be in a fire with them, there's a collapse, and you're not physically fit enough to pass the academy, but things happen to where you still do.
And just carrying the gear alone.
Just the gear, but understand.
Is a ton.
And I want to give a shout out, if you want to call people out on the fire department at the assembly, well, let me call somebody out from the new guys that got hired. All of you that came to work every day, you came to that training class, you put 110% in there. When you were tired and you wanted to quit the PT part of the program, you kept pushing through. And guess what? Just because you got your badge now, you got to keep training. You got to stay in physical shape, because look next to you right now in the firehouse. That guy or woman next to you is the person that you may have to save their life. You are responsible for each other. Take no prisoners. If somebody's weak and they don't do the physical training, they can't be there. They can't be there, because the person next to you is the person's life you may have to save, going in there to put out a fire to save somebody else's life. And if that person isn't up to snuff to do the job, instead of one person dying, it could be all of you that die. So take that physical training serious, stay in shape, and remember, be very proud of yourself. I'm proud of you for doing the job that you do. And all those kids that got skipped, that shouldn't have got skipped, my heart bleeds for you. Don't give up. You're still young enough. Take the test again, and sooner or later, you're going to get a fair shot.
This is why I
get emotional about that, because I'm really pissed off. A lot of good kids got on that fire department. A whole lot of good kids got on. But there was others.
Yeah.
These parents that come to me as a council person, and I said, I can't do nothing. I'm sorry. And I feel weak that I can't help these kids. But some of them, when they show their records on how clean everything was and they still got skipped, it breaks my heart, because they didn't get skipped and they'll get hired next. No, you got thrown off the list. Yeah. And this is where I call for Will Reynolds to do a goddamn investigation, because I believe it's official misconduct when you cheat on the hiring of positions like that, especially in the position of public safety. So, Will, I know you're listening. That's another investigation that you should be on and be all over it, because this is official misconduct, worse than what's being investigated now.
That's why I want you to be mayor of Atlantic City.
I didn't get
It's why I want you to be mayor.
And my emotion is probably why I would never be able to be it, because I don't put up with that type of stuff in the business world. How the hell could I put up with it? I don't hire the weakest. I hire the best. And if you are if you're not the best that you could be, I'll help train to get you to be the best that you could be.
We'll be right back. Don't go away. Much more on the Hurley in the Morning program with Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tibbett.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning.
Biden is going to drive this country into the ground.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. WPGG Atlantic City. WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. And feel the difference of Relief Factor.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning.
We need to do what's best for this country.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
My goodness, almost 10 minutes before the top of the hour. You talk about the second half of this program flying by with Senator Palestina and Councilman Tibbett in the blink of an eye. This is the question. Regardless of the form of government, the mayor of Atlantic City proposes, council disposes. So anybody that has any disagreement about strong mayor, weak council, weak mayor, strong council, this much nobody can dispute unless you want to be wrong. And it is this. The mayor proposes, council disposes. Council has a lot of power, George. And it's like the tail wags the dog. I understand it's like being president because you're one and then it's 535 other people. Here it's 1 and 9 other people. And I understand the state has control and all of this, although we know that they've been very, very lax in that control and allowed a lot of things that shouldn't be happening to take place, a lot of hiring that I think has not been done correctly and so on. But what are your thoughts about that?
Well, like you said, he has the 5 votes. They cheated in the 5th ward. I mean, call it what it is. They cheated in the 5th ward. And if you really care about the guy and he's your guy, you'd be the one stepping up and telling him no to a lot of things. Protect him from him. In the normal circumstances, you're 100%, Harry, that you're 100% correct. But in this instance, a lot of times when council votes stuff down, again, the
state overturns it.
You had that Kim Holmes in there, and I still say something's not right there. I don't know if it was the parties, the Brody stuff, all that stuff that goes with it. Maybe she allowed everything to go because that was hanging over her head. I can't figure out why she would let some of those things go. And it's continued on where I say it's not Marty. You can't blame Marty. You got to blame the state because everything we want to do gets reviewed and approved or denied by them. Yes, they let us run our city. But if we go to do something stupid or foolish or wasteful, that's the job they're supposed to do and say, hey, relook at this. It's not very good for the taxpayers' money.
Your ultimate truth there is beyond dispute, but I will say that there's still really bad ideas that shouldn't have been proposed in the first place.
Absolutely.
So he's not harmless here.
No.
He's not the ultimate problem because the state could stop all of this if they wanted to.
Why aren't they?
Well, I'm of the belief, and I'm telling you, I think the demarcation line came when the Atlantic County Democrats did not endorse the First Lady.
Oh, my God. How embarrassing was that for the First Lady?
If you notice that she got out right after because it's like, oh, my God, if I can't win that one, I mean, I gotta go. I mean,
well, he has them believing. See, they use percentages. Like you hear this marijuana thing. 70% of the people in Atlantic City voted to have legalized recreational marijuana. No, right. 70% of the 5,000 that voted.
Right, not of the 40,000.
And then you hear Marty saying how much he won by percentages wise. But if you look at the votes,
it's tiny.
What was it? 3,400 votes he had to 3,000 that voted against him.
Let me.
But it was split between 5 people. But look at the numbers. They don't love you like you think, pal.
Oh, there's no question.
3,000 people voted against you. 3,400 voted for you.
Well, remember, he's never won until he got the line.
Yeah.
He lost 100% of the time.
He's going to always get the line. Sullivan's afraid of him.
You did win off the line.
Yeah.
I give you a lot of credit.
My passion and love for the city is real. It really is real.
You had people vote for you. They weren't voting for a column. I have to share something. This is a really good friend, good guy, great business owner, just a real, prince of a guy. Gentlemen, let me throw my hat in as to support George Tibbett if he ever decided to run for mayor. He has smoothly graduated to the smartest guy in the room in Atlantic City. Great hour, my best. Billboard dad, and for those who don't remember when he had his own billboard with his cell phone number on it and made national news, Fox News and a lot of other national news from here to Florida and beyond, and that is Chris Ferry. And let me tell you something. He is no easy sell. And he doesn't throw stuff around like this lightly.
I told you I grew up wanting to be Chris Ferry. As a little kid that always imitated Chris. He is a great person, and he was great for the city of Atlantic City.
Praise.
And Chris really helped out with a lot of inner city kids. A lot of us that lived on those playgrounds with him, Pat Sarno, Kevin Skull, all those guys are. You still look up on. We're all men today, but you still look up to those guys, and you never forget them as your mentors growing up.
It's true, and you're good like that, and that's how way we were raised. I'll never forget the role models, and that's how it's supposed to be. I talk about how I raise things, and I know I'm going to raise them. I knew I was going to bring up the question of mayor and you. I didn't bring it up to actually start a dialogue. Oh my God, did you hear? Maybe Tibbet's running for mayor.
No, we're not going to start that rumor.
He didn't say he wasn't, but he didn't say he wouldn't, and then he said, So I didn't do it for that. I really brought it up just to throw a question to you to see where your head is at with something like that. Because as I mentioned earlier, I really believe this, and I'm not saying this in an off-putting way, in a macabre way. or going after someone when they're down. Because, look, that's very embarrassing. You're the mayor of your hometown and your house is raided. It's terrible. It's awful. But I have faith that it was a just raid or it wouldn't have happened.
Of course.
So what I'm saying to you is I really believe, I mean this sincere, not political, there's going to be an opening. And vacuums are filled by someone. It's why we have a problem in our country right now, because there was a bad vacuum and it was filled by the Batman villains around the world because we displayed weakness. Somebody is going to be the next mayor. And I think there's going to be an opening sooner than people thought. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, and like I said, I know there's no doubt in my mind I could do the job, but I just very concerned with my private business world experience. Would I enjoy doing it? Would I be able to fix the job using logical private world business the same way? Government don't work anywhere. It just don't work.
But it would work a whole lot better than it's working now.
I tell you what, the list would be the list.
That's
and if you're
thing.
on that list and you're on the civil service list, unless you did something drastically wrong and unless I advertise these things are disqualifiers, you would not get thrown off the list. And this is why I'm so passionate about it, Harry. These kids, and I hate to beat this drum over and over, but I have to. What's hurting me is that these kids just didn't get skipped and say, "Hey, deal with it. This is life. You'll get on the next list." No, these kids were thrown off the list, out, finished. Yeah, they could appeal it, but if the appeal comes after that list runs out, and this list will run out, and you win your appeal, so what? You lose.
Then there's no jobs.
That bothers me, man. I mean,
they need to win when they have a chance to get the job.
Harry, if you're in the rule of three, and we have the rule of three, and you're from Egg Harbor Township, you're from Absecon, and this kid's from Atlantic City, and he's third, I'm picking third every time.
I have no problem with that.
Every time I'm picking him.
Because you're picking home rule.
I'm picking within the three. But I'm not going to go skip 10, 15 people to go get to a buddy's kid.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. And it's just not going to do that type of stuff because these kids get thrown off the list.
What can be done? I mentioned earlier in our program, Councilman Tibbet, that New York City casino competition is coming. We're fortunate that they kind of dropped the ball. They should have already been up and running. As you know, New York State got up and running quick, but New York City, and because it's a hot mess, they haven't been able to get up and running yet, but they will. What can we do to be in better shape than we are right now?
Well, the number one thing we got going in our favor is they got worse government than we do right now.
Hard to
when
believe.
You look at the streets of New York City, I won't visit there. I wouldn't take family there at this point because you
do know they have 27 miles of trash per day piled up?
Yeah, and the lawlessness, throwing people in front of trains as they're coming, that's some sick stuff, man. When you're sitting waiting for a train and a subway and someone throw you in front of it, and then you get that one Marine. The guy's telling him, "I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you," to the lady, and the Marine jumps in, grabs him, and because the guy's strung out on drugs and has a bad heart because he's been abusing drugs his whole life, dies when he gets him in a preventive hold there. They call it a chokehold. No, it was a preventative hold to stop him from hurting other people. Now, this guy's going to have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars not to go to jail because you got these wacko DAs up there. I mean, that's in the city's favor right now because we're 48 blocks. We put our minds to it. We can go to war with the drug dealers, the mental illness. We could put a stop to it. It's easy. It's 48 blocks. You have to have the stomach to just clean it up. They're not our problems. They're other people's problems, but now they are becoming our problems. And when I say that, it's hard to say that's somebody's kids. I get that. But when somebody else's kids come to your town, strung out on drugs, roam your street, rob, prostitution and everything else, that becomes my problem because now you're affecting my kids and everybody else's kids in Atlantic City, the seniors that can't walk, the property values go down, businesses are going down, which means now people are having trouble providing for their families, the ones that do work. You have to have a heart of stone and deal with this on protecting your own. The invasion of what has happened to Atlantic City with outsiders coming in that are addicted to drugs, suffering mental illness, being sent here. You just can't be passionate. You have to remember who you're protecting. The children of Atlantic City, the seniors, the workers, the casino workers from all over the county. It's bad right now, and we got to do something about it. And you need someone that's going to go to war, willing to go to war. Listen, some of my cops get mad at me sometimes when I say, no, I want the sheriffs to come in and help. I want the state police to come in and help. I don't want them taking over. I want them to work in conjunction anywhere I can get police authority in Atlantic City to help fight the crime that's going on. I welcome it more. I know we need more police officers, but the job isn't attractive no more for the Atlantic City Police Department.
Well, no one ever left Atlantic City to go to another department, and now that happens.
Harry, you get these bean counters from the state come down here, and all they want to do is look good by cutting the people's salaries. You lowering the pay, 18, 20-year steps. We're not attractive to come work for and then deal with what you have to deal with. It's not an attractive job, and we are having trouble getting people to take these jobs.
I know you're also very passionate about recreational marijuana, which for some reason is Marty Small's dream to have recreational marijuana all throughout the city. Who would ever want that within a school zone? And, almost everywhere in Atlantic City is within a certain amount of feet of a school zone because there are that many elementary and obviously the high school and all. So what are your thoughts relative to legal weed and the illegal drug problem in Atlantic City? This isn't good.
I'm not super passionate about it as people think. What I'm passionate about is keeping the neighborhoods safe. Not the 6th Ward. I'm talking the Inlet, Bungalow Park, Venice Park, West Side, parts of the 4th Ward where it's neighborhood, the 5th Ward, the 6th Ward in Chelsea Heights and Chelsea. Yeah. There are neighborhoods, people that had a dream, worked for their dream, didn't break the law, and bought a home in Atlantic City. They shouldn't have to deal with outsiders coming in and buying drugs and doing the weather. There is major proof that medical marijuana does amazing benefits to therapy. There's no doubt about it. You want to go recreational drugs, have at it, smoke away. I'm all for it because you know why I'm all for it? Because now that gives our other kids that don't do that stuff an advantage to run all over these people. When they come walking in on a job interview smelling like they just got out of a pot, who are they going to pick? They're going to pick the kids that don't. So smoke away, have at it. You get slower, it's proven.
Yeah.
You're slower.
Bad
it's
judgment.
to make you relax.
Yep.
The stuff that's out there now is so strong.
That's the truth.
If you're young enough,
THC.
If you're young enough and the male's brain isn't fully developed, what are they saying? 27? I think the New England Journal of Medicine says a male's brain. That's why I say anything I did before 23 doesn't count because my brain wasn't there, right?
It wasn't fully developed.
So it doesn't count, but you're still developing.
You're raising a very good point. The THC level. This is not like the 1960s.
I go to a bar and I don't drink. Everybody knows I don't drink. But if I go to a bar and I have 3 or 4 beers in 3 hours, I'm not drunk. You go smoke one joint and you pull away I don't want the lounges in the neighborhoods. You go smoke a joint and you're high, your reaction time to everything has changed.
Yeah, slower.
I'm not saying you're going to be violent. I'm not saying you're going to get girls in prostitution.
But you'll be impaired.
I'm not saying but you're impaired, and there's a place for everything. And like I said, they think I'm against this guy. No, I'm not against him. I'm all for you making a business and taking the opportunity. More power to you. But follow the rules, follow the zone. If we on council at the time would have voted no from recreational marijuana, and we had the votes to vote it no, but we worked together with the mayor because we fought hard. It was very difficult discussions and very heated at times to create a green zone. We created that green zone. We all met in the middle. Everybody left the table with a piece of the pie. Everybody was happy with, well, we all got a little something. We know it's coming. We got to work. Let's monitor it. Let's do it properly. What's the first thing you do when you're able to flip a vote?
Expand the district.
The first thing you did was want to expand the district. The second thing, the first thing you did was council was supposed to have final approval on the places. That got changed to a word that calls municipality. The second thing you did was now you want to change the districts because, well, I'm going to keep quiet on the because that's a good one, and it's going to come out and it's going to show why you're fighting so goddamn hard for the one in Chelsea Heights.
Understood. Not even a minute, a little over a minute. In fact, not even. I was going to ask a question. We'll save it for next week.
Okay.
And it'll give you some time to really process it because it's a deep question, even though it sounds so simple. What are the biggest problems in Atlantic City right now? And we can touch on that next week.
And I'll give you a quick answer. Drugs, and investor confidence.
Huge.
Yeah, two of the biggest.
And they're
investor confidence.
They're connected.
And when you have a couple buildings in town, people borrow money and they don't pay it back.
How about add in there the
they don't
drugs,
pay their bills,
violent crime,
which all comes together.
Yeah, it does. Investor confidence.
It's a direct impact. The drugs is a direct impact of most of your violent crimes out
Mayor
there.
Tibbet, it was an excellent...
No, don't start that.
Don't
start that.
I didn't say Councilman
My buddy's
Tibbet?
moving from...
I didn't say Councilman Tibbet?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now, my buddy's moving from Texas.
Yeah.
And they're moving back to Virginia Beach, so I'm really excited to be able to spend a lot of time with those guys. That's the next chapter.